Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode or spine number of Chasing Labels. I am your host, Andrew, and this is spine number episode number 169. So, welcome, one and all. If you are here for the first time, welcome. If you are a returning listener, viewer, watcher, fan, movie buff, whatever you want to call yourself. This is the podcast slash YouTube show slash entertainment, whatever you want to call it, of me going through a bunch of different announcements in the world of boutique label home video over the last 2 week period or so. It is mostly things that I'm interested in adding to my collection, things you may be interested in adding to your collection, or just things that I find interesting in general. So I guess it is really catered to my personal opinion. So obviously, when it comes to anything on the internet, it's all based off of subjective personal opinion. But before we get into all of that, there is a few things I do want to add when it comes to additions to my collection recently. So recently, Amazon had their Prime Days or their Prime Day deals or whatever it was called. They had a lot of things that were on sale, mostly mainstream stuff, typically things we don't talk about here, but it's stuff we collect. You know what I mean? You collect it, I collect it, whatever. The world collects it. Obviously, there was a reason why they were selling it. But when it came to kind of the more mainstreamy things, I picked up two or three things. Actually, it's three things. First up here is a couple of box sets. The first one is the four film Batman collection on 4K. Now, this contains obviously the two Tim Burton films as well as the two Joel Schumacher films. This has been out for several years. I mean, pretty sure many of you have this in your collection. Whether it be individually or whether it be in this box set, it's been rather affordable now for a little while. It was on sale for like $33. So I kind of couldn't pass it up. I have the old Blu-ray releases. Well, I have the old Blu-ray release collection, and I've been wanting to upgrade it for many years. And like many of you listening, you want to wait for the right price. The right time, the right price will eventually come along, especially when it comes to mainstream type of stuff. Truthfully, I was trying to buy them individually because I prefer to buy things individually as opposed to like franchise box sets or series box sets when it comes to movies, just because I like to have them individually, just in case I want to place them in different places, whether it be for a specific director or whatever the case may be. Um, but and I also wanted to get them because individually they came with slipcovers, and I am a slipcover fanatic. I don't know what it is about those little cardboard covers that I covet so much, but I've always been a big fan of them. I think the idea about that is like I want things as they originally came. You know what I mean? I want to preserve that original intent, originality, first run, first press of things. I'm kind of the same way with books and comic books. I like to get like, first editions. I like to get, first printings, things like that. So with movies, it is the same thing. But the individual releases of the older Batman films with slipcovers can get kind of pricey. You have to go on eBay for them, and people like to jack up the prices because the slipcovers do become more rare over time. But I decided to say for $33 to get 4Ks, Batman's my favorite character, comic book character of all time. I've been wanting to upgrade these. I'm adjusting my collection right now in terms of organizing, so I thought now was the time. But that was a little long-winded, so I'll move a little quicker here. And something else that's also an upgrade, and people may give me heck for this. People may give me heck for this, but I've been wanting to get this for years, pretty much since it came out. And these are kind of my favorite movies of all time. Well, adjacent to my favorite movies of all time. My favorite movies of all time are Lord of the Rings, and as all of you know about, boy, by this point, 15 years ago, around then, maybe 13 years ago, they came out with the Hobbit films. So I got the 4K collection of the Hobbit films, and this has both the theatrical cuts as well as the extended cuts too. I have these on Blu-ray already in multiple editions. I now have them in 4K, and I know these are not looked on favorably, especially by Lord of the Rings fans. A lot of reasons why so. Too CGI heavy, you didn't need to split one book into three movies, et cetera, et cetera. I get it. I get it. But I love watching these movies. I don't know what it is about that cinematic experience. I'm currently rewatching Lord of the Rings for the millionth time, and just getting back into that world, into that enriching environment, is kind of the biggest pleasure in life for me. But I've wanted to, I got the Lord of the Rings set, so I of course need to get the Hobbit set as well, which I did. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to both this and the Lord of the Rings counterpart to it, it's only just the movies and none of the special features, which is really frustrating to me. I mean, there's probably some, actually, I don't think there are any on disc special features, unfortunately. And the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies are now some of the most re-released stuff when it comes to mainstream studios. Warner Brothers does that a lot with their big time franchises, whether it be this, whether it be Harry Potter. My goodness, how many Harry Potter editions have we gotten? But um, luckily for me, is I have all my old editions of The Hobbit, of Lord of the Rings, so I have all of those special features. The appendices special features for Lord of the Rings is literally the benchmark, the highest form of um special features you could have in terms of being like hours and hours long, incredibly in depth, multifaceted, all of that stuff. And to not include them in the 4K edition made no sense to me whatsoever. But anywho, this is The Hobbit. I really liked watching these in theater. Um, but moving on to more actually no, one more mainstreamy type of thing here is I got this was on sale for a day during the Amazon Prime sales. And this is Duck Dodgers the Complete Series. Of course, starring Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, and Marvin the Martian. For those of you who don't know, I'm a big animation fan. I love animation getting HD releases, getting Blu-ray releases. I'm loving that we're seeing that more and more now, especially with Warner Brothers of all people, putting out a lot of Looney Tunes stuff through Warner Archive. We'll be talking about Warner Archive during this episode because they announced new movies, and they also announced a complete series of Huckleberry Hound getting a Blu-ray release too, an extensive Blu-ray release too. We'll get into that a little bit. Figured why not? But this is Duck Dodgers. This is a more modern series, and it was on sale for super cheap. And I'm trying to get everything Looney Tunes, specifically on Blu-ray. A movie, and then we'll move on to things that were not part of the Amazon Prime sales. First up here is another Radiance release. For those of you sick of me talking about Radiance, well, this is not going to be the episode for you because we're going to be talking about some Radiance announcements that happened recently. But another addition to my Radiance collection is this box set of movies, which I've talked about here before. And this is the Agitator box set. And this has three movies. This has Latan, Kill the Referee, and Agent Trouble. Now, I believe I talked about all of these when this was announced. I think I did get to see them. But this box set is actually out of print. So I wanted to get it while it was still available at places like Orbit DVD, at Diabolic DVD, which I don't even know if they had it, but at Grindhouse Video. Grindhouse Video is actually where I got this from because they're having a liquidation sale. They've been having it all year, so this was actually on sale. So I was able to get it for cheaper than any other site. And since it's out of print, I had to grab it right away. A lot of the several Radiance releases have been going out of print recently, or selling out rather. They re-release them in standard editions afterward, anyways. But I like to get the limited editions. That's my thing. But this is once again a solid box set. You can see the construction, individual cases here. It's got the um, uh, the strip here, which I don't know why I'm forgetting what to call it here. Um, it's got that here. But yeah, this is the Agitator box set. Once I fill out a little more of my Radiance section, fill in some gaps, I think maybe I'll do a video of it just radiance of what I have and whatnot. I'm still missing quite a few things. Those World Noir box sets, volumes 1 and volume 2, are also out of print and uh very expensive to find. So if you have those, hold on to them for dear life because they're just going up in value. But one more thing that I got in between previous episode and now is the movie A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, starring Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers, which is, I think, perfect casting. Perfect casting. I don't know if you could get better casting than Tom Hanks to play Mr. Rogers. And it's not a Mr. Rogers biopic. It's something that was actually rather different. Um, it's a kind of a more specific focus story about a journalist who was doing a story about um, Mr. Rogers. So it was something more specific than that. But of course, it came out also around the same time as the Mr. Rogers um, documentary, which was amazing. It's still something I really need to get and really, really want. Um, it's such a beautiful, beautiful documentary on Mister Rogers that I think pairs well with this. That would be a nice, good double pairing because it gives you context of who Mister Rogers was and his legacy and message and all that kind of stuff. And then you watch this and you kind of see and you get to see kind of like someone portraying that as well. Really good. This movie was directed by Marielle Heller, who's I think a really good director, and I got to get more of her work. Um, yeah, I've been wanting to get this movie since it came out, so I'm glad I finally got it. Um, the reason why it took me so long is once again I wanted to get it with the slipcover, and finding this with the slipcover in relatively decent condition was kind of tough. I mean, you could find the movie, you can find it with the slipcover, but for some reason they were incredibly beat up. That happens with a lot of Sony releases. This was released by Sony, or is released by Sony rather, and I find like the Sony slipcovers really get roughed up very easily, and I don't know why. I noticed that a lot when it came to the movie Venom. I don't know the movie Venom with Tom Hardy, the first one. Every time I've seen like that slipcover, whether it be in store or on eBay, it's always in rough, rough condition. It's really hard to find a pristine version of that, and I don't know why. But anywho, that's just the movie A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Um, so yeah, I'm glad I finally got that. But yeah, that is it in terms of kind of movie collection updates. Obviously, the Criterion collection is still a Criterion collection sale at Barnes and Noble is still going on. Amazon's price matched a lot of that. The sale, I don't even know when the sale ends. It probably the end of the month, which is rapidly approaching. So if you haven't gotten to the sale and you wanted to get to the sale, I guess do so. I need to go back one more time. There's still certain titles I've been wanting to get. There's certain titles that have just come out that I still need to get. Barry Lyndon in 4K, the Antoine Doinel box set. But I'll be talking about Criterion at some point during this episode as well. Probably at the end. Criterion will be at the end. Also, one more thing before we go. You probably notice I'm wearing a Chasing Labels t-shirt. So yes, I mentioned it at the end of the previous spy number episode, and I'm mentioning it here again at the top, is that we will be having merchandise for Chasing Labels and kind of movie adjacent merchandise as well. It'll be on Etsy. The shop isn't quite ready to go yet in terms of like people buying things, hence why I haven't dropped a link in the description or I haven't told you guys to go buy like crazy yet, just because we are working out, how the process goes. What's the quality of the shirt, what's the ship time, what do we have to do on our end in terms of like making the making things work, make sure all the settings for shipping and all that kind of stuff is correct. But we will be having Chasing Labels t-shirts, long sleeves, hoodies, tote bags. There will be stickers and things like that available sometime soon. I know there's a Chasing Labels mug as well. That's up there too. But I just want to talk about that beforehand, and I'll remind people at the end as well. This is forest green, is technically the color. You can kind of see it if I lean into the light correctly. If you're listening on audio, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But for those of you visually watching on YouTube, this is forest green. It comes a little dark. Green's my favorite color. That's why I got it. There are various colors on there, general stuff, blue, black, maroon, brown, things like that. But once that is officially up, we'll of course promote the heck out of it. But let's get down to business about what we typically talk about here, and that is movies, movie releases, boutique stuff. Let's start off with Warner Archive. Why not? Warner Archive announced their August titles. So their August titles will be including their third 4K UHD release. So if you're keeping count at home, that's the third. This will be the third one. So they are releasing Get Carter, which is the 4K UHD release. They're going to release the movie The Midnight Kiss from 1949, Seven Women from 1966, Intruder in the Dust from 1949, The Hard Way 1940 from 1943, The Huckleberry Hound Show, the complete original series. Now I know we don't talk about TV shows here a lot, and much to my chagrin, because collecting TV shows has always been like a little bit of a passion of mine. But I'm going to sneak that one in there when we get down to it. So let's talk about Get Carter. This is the original Get Carter film from 1971, starring Michael Caine. There was a remake done, I think, in 2000, around there, with Sylvester Stallone, which has gotten a Blu-ray release, just a standard Blu-ray release from what I remember. But this is the one you want to watch. This is the Mike Hodges film starring the great Michael Caine, classic British like gangster film. I've seen the movie. Actually, I also wanted to mention that this has already gotten a 4K UHD release before, because I have it, and it was put out by the BFI, and I have it right here. And I remember this being one of the best just home video releases of the year it came out. Let me look up when this actually came out from the BFI, because I think that's important to kind of know the difference here. Let's see, Get Carter. Let's see. So the Get Carter limited edition 4K came out August 1st, 2022. So I think it was one of the best releases of 2022 is this release here. Because not only does it look incredible, loaded with special features. Absolutely loaded with special features. But let me see what this Warner Archive edition has. So for those of you who've never seen the movie Get Carter with Michael Caine, let me just read the description. Two-time Oscar winner Michael Caine rips into the role of Jack Carter in this legendary crime thriller marked by brutal and gamey plot turns, excellent direction, and a fast-moving screenplay. London mob strong-arm Carter is drawn north to Newcastle by his brother's death, which he doesn't believe is accidental. All too familiar with the ways of the mob, Carter single-mindedly and single-handedly tears into the local crime syndicate with terrifying precision and cold enjoyment, hunting the identity of the killer and then the killer himself. But what Carter doesn't know is that corruption within the mob is widespread, high-ranked, and may hit closer to home than he thinks. So what you got here is a mob movie starring Michael Caine, who's trying to get revenge or trying to figure out what happened to his brother, and then, of course, take his revenge if need be. Now, this release is a 2-disc edition. It's got a 4K and a Blu-ray. This is the Warner Archive that I'm talking about. 4K restoration of the film by the British Film Institute from 2022. So this original BFI release and the Warner Archive release of Get Carter both come from the same same restoration done by the BFI. Dolby Vision and HDR presentation of the film, which also came with the BFI release. Now, vintage audio commentary featuring Michael Caine, Mike Hodges, and cinematographer Wolfgang Krasinski. Audio commentary featuring Kim Newman and Barry Forshaw. Introduction by Michael Caine, Mike Hodges in conversation, which is an hour long, which is kind of amazing because Mike Hodges actually passed away. Oh goodness, not soon after this came out. Let me see. Let me just do a quick IMDb search for Mike Hodges. So this has got to be one of his last interviews. Yeah, Mike Hodges passed away in 2022. So, wow, what a timely release at the time. Um, yes, let's see. That runs for an hour long. The Sound of Boy Rudd, the music expert Johnny Trunk explores the varied career of Broyd Bud and revisits Bud's iconic minimalist score for Get Carter. Don't Trust Boys actor uh, Petra Markham reflects upon her career on stage and screen and recalls her role in Get Carter. Um, these these were all new special features done in 2022. Klinger on Klinger, Tony Klinger recalls and evaluates the career of his father, Michael Klinger, producer of Get Carter. Original MGM trailer, 4K restoration, re-release trailer, optional subtitles. Um, so all of those special features are all from this release. Yeah, there's some extra things on this BFI release that the Warner Archive release does not have, but as you can see, yeah, there's an abundance of it already. Yeah, I'm just looking very quickly over at what's missing. Yeah, there's a few here at the bottom. Um, I won't go through them. Let's see. Very yeah. So there is a BBC Look North location report that's on the BFI release. That's not on the Warner Archive release. Boy Rudd plays Get Carter. Uh, that's not on the Warner Archive release. Michael Caine's message to premiere attendees from 1971, not on it, not on there. The Ship Hotel, Tyne, Maine, which is 33 minutes long, which is Philip Trevelyan's evocative documentary film about a pub on the bank of the River Tyne. That's most definitely not on the Warner Archive release. It is not. Um, and then let's see. Yeah, so that's what's not on the Warner Archive release. So you get the main, like the bulk of what's on here on this Warner Archive release. Just in case, I want to mention that just in case you missed out on the BFI release, or maybe you're not region free, because while the 4K UHD disc of Get Carter from the BFI is region free, the Blu-ray, which I assume contains the special features, does not. So there's a quick opening here. You got Michael Caine on each disc. You do get some, I think, some like postcards in here. Yeah, these are definitely postcards. You can write on the back of them, which I would never recommend people to do. Um, so let's see. There's that. Oh, wrong way. For those of you listening on the audio, I'm showing off the postcards. And I may be doing this upside down because I'm looking at myself, looking at the camera. Yeah. So anywho, that is Get Carter. I would recommend anybody seeing this movie any way they can. Michael Caine he's still the man, but man, he was extra man back in the 60s and 70s. Doing his damn good work. Damn good work. So let me move that aside. So that is Get Carter. Let's see what else we've got here in the Warner Archive realm. That Midnight Kiss. The Warner Archive Collection is proud to be releasing another eye-popping Technicolor restoration. That Midnight Kiss, this handsome MGM production, provided the screen debut of the immortal Mario Lanza. The story tells of aspiring diva Prudence Boudel, who's portrayed by Katherine Grayson, knew what she wanted in a singing partner, but what she got was an uninspiring walrus-like snob. Great tenors are very seldom young, good-looking men who feel the words of the opera. The maestro explained, "If you ever find one who looks the part, you let me know." So Prudence found him, and not coincidentally, his appearance on screen meant the MGM had found a major film star in Lanza. So the way this movie goes is there's a young opera singer who's backed by her very rich aunt, portrayed by Ethel Barrymore from the famous Barrymore acting family, and she is kind of funding this opera to have her niece get her start. A little bit of nepotism there, whatever the case may be. Her niece is talented though. Like, she's not devoid of talent, but she needs training. She needs a partner to help carry her within this opera. And they find like this older veteran opera singer, and he's just so stuffy and boring, and he puts her down, and he's like the old guy who's seen it all, done it all, and he's hard to work with, hard to work with. But she ends up finding this young singer who portrayed by Mario Lanza, who is like a truck driver. She ends up finding him kind of randomly, and she wants him to be her partner in this opera. She basically discovers him, and she brings him to her famous teacher, and she says, "Hey, listen to him." And they do, and he starts performing. He starts doing well, and now she wants him part of this opera. And there's like personal feelings that are involved as well. I'll say this: the singing and the music in this movie is incredible. Even if you're not a fan of operatic music, I think you can appreciate the talent. You know what I mean? You can appreciate, the level of skill it takes to sing like this. What is also interesting is I wasn't familiar with Mario Lanza and his career both as an actor and a music star, and how tragic his life ended up being. He passed away, I think, at 38, 39, very young. Um, and his career trajectory, his career skyrocketed after this, and then faded so fast. It was one of those fast rising, fast falling, and then a lot of personal issues and demons and things like that. And he unfortunately ended up dying so young and so talented. Oh my goodness. Just do a quick like Google search or Wikipedia search of Mario Lanza, and it's really fascinating and tragic. But this movie, I rather liked it. I rather liked it for what it is. It's not earth shatteringly unique or different, but I thought it was rather good. Like I said, the music is beautiful. Um, yeah, and I enjoyed the story, but it's called That Midnight Kiss, and it's getting a new 4K restoration from the original Technicolor negative, which is incredible that they still have the original Technicolor negative. A lot of those original Technicolor negatives have been lost to time. They were either used up to the point where they disintegrated, or they were destroyed because they were no longer needed or used, or just lost in some type of archive somewhere and they haven't been found yet. Who knows? But they have the original Technicolor negative for this movie, so it's gonna look fantastic, if anything. You have deleted musical outtakes, classic MGM cartoons of Heavenly Puss and Signor Droopy. Nice. I love Signor Droopy. Um, let's see. We have the movie Seven Women. So the movie Seven Women is John Ford's last theatrical film. He did another movie after this, but I think it was like 42 minutes long, so it wasn't feature length, and I don't think it was in a theater. Um, and so this is his official last movie. And I think this is in 1966. Um, yeah, so actually some comments here before I go on. Favorite premium theater format: X IMAX, IMAX Dome, Dolby, VistaVision. This is by Skyhawk 18. Let me highlight this. So, unfortunately, around here where I live, we don't really have a lot of premium theaters. Um, for example, there's only one IMAX theater in my entire state. So, IMAX will be the way to go. I love the IMAX format. I love how gigantic it is. I love that movies now are being shot with IMAX cameras. And I know they've been doing this since the 2000s. The big proponent of it is obviously Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan loves shooting in IMAX. He shot, a couple of scenes for The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. I think Interstellar had some IMAX sequences as well. And now they're shooting like entire movies in IMAX. I don't know if you guys have ever seen like the reel of an IMAX print film reel. They're gigantic. The platters that they have to project are gigantic. Um, I remember seeing it for Tenet, doing like a behind the scenes. Christopher Nolan was showing them like projecting it, and they were just massive. Or even for Oppenheimer as well. But the Odyssey, I can't wait. Like that's probably gonna look amazing in IMAX. So IMAX will be the format for me. Good evening, Jeff. Welcome back. And we also have Adam Schofield who says hi. Lanza used to get such bad stage fright he once punched his manager. Like I was saying, a lot of issues with Mario Lanza and obviously ending up in a very tragic ending. Yeah, like I said, high like fast rise to career and popularity and just as fast downfall in personal life and career wise. But you can still go back and listen to his music and watch the movies that he was in. Um, yeah, really heck of a talent, heck of a talent. But as I was saying, we are all talking about seven women, seven women being John Ford's last movie, and of course the famous John Ford, who was known for directing westerns and war movies. His partnership with John Wayne was legendary. I have a John Ford section in my collection, just because of his importance to cinema. John Ford did a lot when it came to movie directing and things like that. Of course, Monument Valley is an iconic location for shooting westerns, and yeah, a lot of great John Ford films. But in this final film, I thought this final film was actually rather good too. Different though. Different setting, different type of tone, different type of movie than I was expecting from John Ford, but I'll get into it here. So, in the final film of an illustrious career that spanned nearly 5 decades, director John Ford breaks his old mold. Like as I was saying, it's different. Famed for making westerns, he directed an Eastern, in quotes, accredited as a man's man director. Yes, his movies were incredibly masculine. Masculine. John Wayne, incredibly masculine characters that he played, and in real life too. And the Western genre has been considered to be incredibly masculine as well. But in this movie, he created a film that starred not one but a septet of women, seven women. And finally, known for big outdoor films, he keeps the action confined within the walls of an isolated mission in China circa 1935. Anne Bancroft is superb as tough, realistic, cynical doctor who locks horns with the domineering head of the mission in Margaret Leighton, a woman of strict moral values. Excuse me. But when their ordered world is shattered by invading bandits, gallantry, courage, and sacrifice, traits common to all Ford films, rise to the surface in a most startling fashion. Yes, women is a departure, but in true John Ford fashion, it explodes with the same dramatic truth and visual intensity that have forever enshrined him as one of the cinema's true poets. Now, this movie is getting a 4K restoration from the original camera negative. And it has Oscar-winning MGM cartoon The Dot and the Line, and that is it. I kind of wish there was more, but I understand when it comes to Warner Archive, as we've seen. I know many of you are familiar with their releases, you come here for the movies. You're here for the movies. You're here for the great restorations and remasters and presentation of the movie. You're not quite here for a wealth of special features, because a lot of these are kind of porting over what was on the old DVDs. If they didn't have old DVDs, or if the old DVDs were those made on demand Warner Archive releases that probably didn't have any special features, you're kind of just getting the movie. But in this case, you're getting an MGM cartoon, which that is what it is. But the movie itself is, I think, rather good. Great cast in the movie. Like I said, it's Anne Bancroft, who was actually she had to come in late because Patricia Neal, who was originally supposed to play this role as this doctor coming into this to work at this mission, I believe she had a stroke while they were filming, so Anne Bancroft had to come in and replace her. And obviously, Patricia Neal and Anne Bancroft, not quite the same type of actress, but I thought Anne Bancroft was fantastic. Sue Lyon is in this film as well. Sue Lyon, I remember for being in Stanley Kubrick's Lolita. Let's see, Eddie Albert's in the movie as well. Eddie Albert, I remember for being the star of Green Acres. Green Acres, which I think came out the same year that this movie came out, 1966, 1967. Around there, I think, is when Green Acres premiered, that sitcom. I remember Eddie Albert being in that. So it was interesting to see him in this movie. He plays a preacher at this mission in China in 1935. And it's these kind of seven women in this mission in China, and they've got to deal with the harshness of that, specifically with the presence of invading Mongolian like people. I would say they don't depict them very positively. They're kind of barbarian-ish. They're kind of incredibly violent and misogynistic and all of that. Which is kind of interesting for a movie depicting, 1935. It feels almost older in that fact. Almost ancient, really, but it is what it is. Just from a historical perspective, I won't get too into it. Um, China in the 1930s was a rather lawless place. It didn't really have a strong central government at all. It was kind of ruled by different people, if you will. It was very divided, I would say, very divided. And China was mostly divided a lot in the 20th century up until um, Mao in like the 1960s, I think, or late 1950s, when communism would take over really in the 50s and 60s and into the 70s. But and that's kind of how you have the birth of the modern China that exists now. But back in the 30s, kind of lawless, kind of spread out. Interesting time to have a mission set up there. I would say that definitely dangerous, and the movie definitely harkens on that. That danger that exists at that time for these people who were trying to do good. And these people are the people, they depict them as not so much kind of like spreading the Christian message and things like that. They're mostly there on a humanitarian basis. Like I said, there's a doctor portrayed by Anne Bancroft is treating, the various diseases and sicknesses and illnesses amongst the people who need the help the most, children and elderly and things like that, and just villagers and whatnot. So it's very much a humanitarian mission as opposed to a religious mission. Um, so the movie is a lot of different things. I rather enjoyed it. Solid directing by John Ford as well. Good acting in it. A lot of interesting themes as well. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. But next we have Intruder in the Dust, which I have seen, but I do not remember this movie too much. Let's see. Who shot Vincent Gowrie in the back? The jailhouse at Jefferson, Mississippi may not hold the actual killer, but it does have the suspect an angry lynch mob wants. Lucas Beauchamp, who has long refused to exhibit the obsequious attitude expected of black people in Jefferson, based on the William Faulkner novel and filmed in his hometown of Oxford. Intruder in the Dust is both a gripping whodunit and milestone of social conscious filmmaking. Claude Jarman Jr., reunited with director Clarence Brown of The Yearling, plays the youth whose troubled sense of right makes him a catalyst in solving the mystery. And Wano and yeah, what says Juano Hernandez is memorable as Lucas, proud, perceptive, strong. Words that also describe the superb film, named one of 1940's 10 best by the National Board of Review. Now restored from 4K scans of the best preservation elements, this landmark film comes to Blu-ray with a stunning presentation of a film that is timeless in its importance. They are not doing a great job of synopsizing the actual plots of these movies. So I'm going to go over to Letterboxd and get a much better synopsis, just because it really is not giving us any type of plot context whatsoever as to what these movies are about. It really doesn't. And it doesn't help me in being able to inform you guys if I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. Let's see, Intruder in the Dust, which I have seen. See, rural Mississippi in the 1940s. Lucas Beauchamp, a local black man with a reputation of not kowtowing to whites, is found standing over the body of a dead white man holding a pistol that has recently been fired. Quickly arrested for murder and jailed, Beauchamp insists he's innocent and asks the town's prominent lawyer, Gavin Stevens, to defend him. But Stevens refuses. When a local boy whom Beauchamp has helped in the past and who believes him to be innocent hears talk of a mob taking Beauchamp out of jail and lynching him, he pleads with Stevens to defend Beauchamp at trial and prove his innocence. So obviously, right away, you can tell that this movie is about civil rights. This movie is about racism. This movie is about Southern racism. It's about all of those things. Interestingly, this movie came out in 1949, and we know the civil rights movement typically, the general one that we know with Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and all of that, didn't happen really until the late 50s. or the 50s. I'll say the 50s, just to be on the safe side historically. So this is a little pre all of that, and it's saying a lot of powerful, powerful things. Um, so that's fascinating to me. Yeah, another really good film. I when did I actually watch this? I'm just curious myself. So I watched it in 2020. So I watched it 5 years ago. That's probably why my mind is a little fuzzy on it. But it's kind of coming back to me as I was reading the synopsis. I think I'll stick with letterbox synopsis for these just because the other ones are not too helpful. Not too helpful. Let's see. Let's move right along. So that's Intruder in the Dust. Now we've got The Hard Way. Let me see what the synopsis of The Hard Way is. Let's see. Make sure I get the right Hard Way because you'd be surprised how many movies are called The Hard Way. For example, there's one here from 1991. That's not the one I want. Gotta make sure you get the right one. Ah, there it is. From 1943. Helen Sherman pushes her younger sister Catherine into show business in order to escape their small town poverty. This movie stars Ida Lupino, Dennis Morgan, Joan Leslie, Jack Carson. It's directed by Vincent Sherman. Vincent Sherman, kind of a, let's say, journeyman director. He directed The Damned Don't Cry. He directed Affair in Trinidad, starring Rita Hayworth. He directed Mr. Skeffington, starring, is that Joan Crawford? Nope, Betty Davis. Got it. That's Betty Davis. He directed Old Acquaintance, which I know stars Betty Davis. I have a DVD of that. He directed The Return of Dr. X, The Young Philadelphian with Paul Newman, Harriet Craig with Joan Crawford. That's the one with Joan Crawford. Great movie, Harriet Craig. I have the indicator release on my shelf. On my shelf. I would say I had it around me at one point, but I put it in my drama section. But yeah, that's Vincent Sherman. Now let me see what we've got here in terms of special features. Scroll back down. So The Hard Way. Yeah, all of it is a 4K restoration from the nitrate camera negative. Okay. That's about it. Um Actually, they give a pretty decent synopsis here. Helen Chernin, a strong-willed woman who wants to get herself and her talented kid sister out of their jerkwater hometown, and if that means using people and throwing them away, that's what Helen will do. Biting, observant, set against the glittery showbiz backdrop, The Hard Way has earned its reputation as one of Hollywood's great melodramas. Among the film's many fine performances, two stand out. Jack Carson, typically cast in comic roles, is powerfully affecting as a song and dance man whose kind heart is no match for Helen's ruthless wiles, and Ida Lupino, who's pitch perfect as Helen, etching an indelible portrait of twisted ambition that won her the 1943 New York Film Critics Award for Best Actress. I love Ida Lupino. There's an Ida Lupino box set from Kino that I've done a review for here on Chasing Labels. Um, and that was kind of my big old introduction into Ida Lupino, who also became a director. So not only a great actress, but a pretty great director as well. She directed the movie The Hitchhiker, which is very good. Definitely give that a watch if you haven't already. Let's see what else we've got here. So unfortunately, nothing in terms of special features for um, uh, the hard way. And last but certainly not least, I'm going to touch on this briefly just for my own personal sake because this is something I'm definitely going to buy. The Huckleberry Hound show, the complete series. The classic Huckleberry Hound character from Hanna-Barbera lore. He's there with Yogi Bear and Scooby Doo, my favorites. But there was a 68 half-hour episode series of Huckleberry Hound. Probably done around the same time as we had the Yogi Bear show and of course Scooby Doo. Actually earlier, much earlier, my goodness. 1958 to 1962. Scooby Doo wouldn't premiere till 1969, and I think Yogi Bear was in the mid 60s or so. Um, so So this kind of predates it, but I believe that only the first season was available on DVD, and now we're getting a complete series set, but on Blu-ray. Not only is it on Blu-ray, this is getting a new 4K restoration from the original camera negatives. That's kind of shocking to me. It's shocking to me that they are taking um an animated show from essentially the late 50s and giving a 4K restoration. And the fact that they have the original camera negatives is amazing to me as well. It's an 11 disc set, and you have some special features here: Huckleberry quotes, the remix music video celebrating memorable Huckleberry Hound quotes. Huckleberry Hound, a linguistics masterpiece. Hound speak as humorously interpreted by a linguistics professor. Um, the legendary sound of Dawes Butler, an effective remembrance of the brilliant voice artist who lent his talents to voice Huck and Yogi, among many other beloved characters. This is a revelatory set for classic animation fans. So that's awesome. That's just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic that this is getting released, and hopefully this gives me hope that we're going to continue to see more animation and continue to see more Hanna-Barbera animation, more Looney Tunes. That's what I'm really hoping for. Uh, they're putting them out, as so buy them while you can. I also want to mention before we move on from Warner Archive, because we're kind of done with them. Their second 4K UHD release, which was High Society, is apparently also selling very well too. I know The Searchers sold very well, which was their first release, which I got. I still have to get High Society. For some reason, there was a bit of a snafu with the slipcover with that, where some first run prints of it were not shipping with slipcovers. So you had to contact Warner Archive to get a slipcover if you didn't get a slipcover and you wanted a slipcover. So keep your eye out for things like that. I want one with the slipcover for High Society, which was a musical take on the Philadelphia Story, starring Grace Kelly as well as Frank Sinatra and Bob Hope, I think. And it was Grace Kelly's last film before she went away from Hollywood. She kind of quit acting. She goes off and she becomes a princess. But I really want to get High Society. That's my way around that. So we just talked about Warner Archive. Let's move on from there. Let's go over to, let's see. Let's go over to Kino. Why not? Let's go over to Kino and just roll through these. A lot of these are things we've talked about before that are just getting release dates and more details announced. And right off the bat, we got it right here. Coming on September 16th, we have Night of the Juggler. Night of the Juggler is getting a 2-disc edition, 2-disc 4K edition. 4K edition. First disc is the 4K. It's got a new commentary by film historians Steve Mitchell and Nathaniel Thompson. Disc 2 is just the Blu-ray. It's got an audio commentary of what I just said. It also has some special features. Summer of '78, new interview with actor James Brolin. The Sweet Maria, new interview with actress Julie Carmen. Pandemonium Reflex, an inquest into Sidney J. Fury's Night of the Juggler. So we got some new special features. Actually, 2 of those are new. The interviews are new, and I don't know if that Pandemonium Reflex is new or not, or if it's a carryover from something. But I also heard that they will be showing Night of the Juggler in theaters, some type of screenings in theaters somewhere. I think it's on here. If I find it, I'll mention it, because I know people were big fans of this announcement. Like, people were hyped for it, and I watched the movie, and I kind of understand why. It's good, gritty 1970s flick with James Brolin. Yeah, so I'll move on from there because we've talked about it before. That's Night of the Juggler. Oh, here it is. Literally the next post is the see it in theaters before the long-awaited physical media release. So it's getting a release in theaters. I'm assuming with the new restoration and all of that. It looks like some Alamo draft houses. And that's about it. Go to Kino's Facebook page if you're on Facebook, and you can see it there. It's getting a screening at Fantasia Fest this Friday, the 25th, which will be the world premiere of this restoration. And I think in August it'll be at the IFC Center in New York, and then it'll be making its way through just a handful of places, like no places that like, that are anywhere near me. There no place that are anywhere near me. Not even Boston. Not even Boston, which would be the closest to me. But that is Night of the Juggler. Let's move on to another film, which is not at all like Night of the Juggler in any means at all. This is Airplane 2, the sequel. We talked about this when it was announced. Now we got some details. Coming September 3rd, Airplane 2, the sequel from 1982. Two disc 4K UHD edition. We've got two audio commentaries. Want to make sure that I'm still streaming here. Yes, I am. We have two audio commentaries, one by Mike White of the Projection Booth, and the other by television writer and showrunner Patrick Walsh. That's on the first disc. On the second disc, you've got those two audio commentaries as well. And that is it. This is getting a brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master from a 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative. Did I mention what Night of the Juggler got? Yeah, Night of the Juggler got the same exact treatment. Dolby Vision HDR, 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative. So that is Airplane 2, the sequel. I know a lot of people don't like it as compared to the first one. It's the first movie, but just way more ridiculous. Like in this one, I think they're on some type of like space shuttle thing or something. I don't know. I only saw the movie once, like years ago. Yeah, that's what it is. There's a mad bomber on board the first lunar shuttle, uh, and shuttle is about to self-destruct. The engines are not working, and the worst of all, the flight crew discovers they are completely out of coffee. It's the high-flying lunacy of Airplane all over again, as Robert Hayes and Julie Haggerty from Airplane are once again stuck on this you know mess of an aircraft. But you got celebrity cameos galore in it, like Sonny Bono, Lloyd Bridges, Raymond Burr, Chuck Connors, Chad Everett, Peter Graves, William Shatner, Rip Torn, and many others. So that is Airplane 2, the sequel. Next is a movie that's already gotten a Blu-ray release, and now they're just upgrading it to 4K. And it's coming soon. We don't know any details. We don't know any the actual date of it. And that is um Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins, starring Fred Ward. Fred Ward, the great character actor who recently passed away a few years ago. Great character actor. If you see him on screen, you'll know him. He was probably most known for being in the movie Tremors. And I think he was like in every single Tremors sequel too. Um, great character actor, just a great actor. I remember he had like a role in like two episodes of Breaking Bad. Oh no, that's Robert Forster. That's Robert Forster. Sorry, Robert Forster and Fred Ward, similar type of actors, similar type of careers, in the sense that they're just really solid character actors, really good, really good. Um, I'm curious what they're gonna have for the special features. Let me go actually. Yeah, because I remember Remo Williams getting the Blu-ray release because I remember seeing it on the Kino website. Yeah, the Remo Williams came out in 2022, so it's getting 3 years later. We're getting a 4K release. Well, perhaps 3 years later. If anything, this could come out in a year for all we know. I'll say this. Oh, the Kino summer sale ends tonight at midnight. For those of you watching this now, I guess it's important information. For those of you listening in the future, not so important information. I actually had to rush and make a purchase right before the podcast. Actually, at around 8:50 or 8:55, I was on the Kino website, and luckily I had some things saved in my cart, so I just got them because I wanted to take advantage of the sale while I could. I'll show you guys that stuff when it comes in hopefully a week or two or so. Who knows when it'll arrive? But I picked up a couple of things. There's so many Kino releases to get, so many good Kino releases to get, especially during the sale. There's catalog stuff, there's 4Ks to get, there's newer Blu-rays to get, there's re-releases to get. They even have some TV things I've been wanting to get. So there's so much of their stuff. It's impossible to keep up. For those of you who do, bless you, because it's tough. Let's see. Speaking of Kino, let's move on from Remo Williams to Runaway Train. Okay, so this movie I watched for the first time. So Remo Williams, I didn't get to see, so I'm not gonna really discuss it. But coming soon on 4K UHD from brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master from a 4K scan of the 35 millimeter original camera negative is the movie Runaway Train, starring Jon Voight, Eric Roberts, and Rebecca De Mornay. Now, let me go and give you guys a synopsis of this mamma jamma. Um, and give you a little backstory on it too. The backstory is actually more fascinating than you would think. It's more fascinating um, than perhaps the movie itself. And the movie itself is actually rather good, in my opinion. So we've got Runaway Train, came out in 1985, directed by Andrei Chalovsky. Uh, a hardened convict and younger prisoner escape from a brutal prison in the middle of winter, only to find themselves on an out of control train with a female railway worker while being pursued by the vengeful head of security. So you've got Jon Voight and Eric Roberts. They are escapees from a prison, and they are on the run, and they end up on a train that ends up as a runaway train, as an out of control runaway train. And on that train happens to be Rebecca De Mornay, who is like a worker on the train who, like, she said she fell asleep and was left on the train. It's a little ridiculous, but whatever. And then you've got like the main, I guess you could say, warden or police officer that's hunting the two escaped convicts down. And they're on this runaway train. Jon Voight has an interesting accent in this movie. Um, and then Eric Roberts is in it as well. But the backstory of this movie is what I wanted to tell you guys about. Because just doing my research on the movie, as I'm prone to do, this movie actually was originally developed in the 1960s as a movie as a movie to be made by Akira Kurosawa. Akira Kurosawa, I think, wrote or co-wrote the screenplay, and they were going to make this movie. What happened is that the script wasn't quite ready yet to be made in the mid 1960s. I think we're talking like 1965, 66, 67 in that area. And so he put off filming the movie for a year. And um it just unfortunately ended up not making it. Um, let's see. Actually, our good friend Michael Brook um, gave me some information on it because I posted on Facebook that I was watching it, and our good friend Michael Brook gave some information. That man is an encyclopedia of movie knowledge. Of course, he works over at Indicator doing their um doing a lot of work for them over there. Let me see. Here's the posts. I should have looked this up earlier. Let's see. How can I? Oh, there it is. No, it's of course Facebook doesn't make things interesting for me. Oh, here it is. Found it. So our good friend Michael Brooks said, so the script wasn't ready, so Akira Kurosawa postponed the making of the movie for a year, and then made the huge mistake of agreeing to direct the Japanese parts of Tora Tora Tora, which turned out to be a professional disaster for him. And then Kinji Fukasaku ended up taking over that. That's actually that's all true. Akira Kurosawa was supposed to direct the Japanese parts of Tora Tora Tora, and it just was a disaster and just didn't happen, didn't work out, and Kinji Fukasaku had to take over. So what ended up happening um, is that the movie, the company that owned the rights to the story or owned the rights to the movie, decided to revive it. I think in the actually early 80s, and they got funding from Canon Films to then make this movie, and that's how this movie was made. This is a Canon film. If you know Canon Films, that 1980s production finance company, but they made all kinds of movies, action movies, romance movies, comedies, things like that. Their motto was basically just get butts in seats. Canon Films, they did Superman 4 Quest for Peace, Part of why Quest for Peace is the worst Superman movie of all time. They did not have the budget or the means to make that movie, and it shows to this day. It really does. They eventually kind of flamed out in the late 80s and early 90s. They just, ran out of steam, essentially. But when they flashed big in the 80s, it was an interesting time. There's a great documentary about Canon Films. Check it out, track it down if you can. It's really, really awesome. Just to talk about just the history and production of that company and what they were going for, the founders, Menachem Golan, just incredible stuff. But um, we got some comments here. Buddy Jeff K says Shatner is hilarious in Airplane 2. We've got Adam Schofield says written by Ed Bunker and Akira Kurosawa, I believe. Yeah, though. Yeah, so like I was saying, the script was originally done by co-written by Akira Kurosawa. And then Runaway, and then Adam Schofield says Runaway Train is great, and it is actually great. That's the kicker of it all, is that originally it was supposed to be a Kurosawa film, but then it also still ended up being a pretty damn good movie. And then we've got Adam Schofield says, I might be wrong about Bunker. He's in it at least. Let me see, because I have Runaway Train right now. It says, let's see. Oh, gee, there's a bunch of writers on here. So Akira Kurosawa, based on the screenplay by him. It says Georgi Milicevic, screenplay by him. Paul Zindel, screenplay by him. Edward Bunker, there it is. Edward Bunker, screenplay by him. And then we have 2 uncredited story credits for Ryuzo Kikushima and Hideo Oguni. So quite a few hands in here for the movie Runaway Train. Now I'm hoping we get some decent special features. At least a audio commentary would be nice from someone talking about the movie. Let's see. Let me get rid of that. Oh yeah, so that's Runaway Train getting a 4K release. If anything, it should look a lot nicer than the quality of the version I watched. Next is a movie we've talked about already before, but we're getting the details once again. Coming September 23rd, Radioland Martyrs from 1994. It is getting a Blu-ray release. Brand new HD master from a 2K scan of the 35mm interpositive. New audio commentary by entertainment journalist and authors Brian Reisman and Max Every. Ben Ben's Radioland Murders Memories. New interview with actor Brian Ben. And that is it. I want to see. Hold on. Radioland. Nope. So yeah, Radioland Murders got a Blu-ray release in 2019 from Universal Studios, and now it's getting a special edition from Kino. Okay, so it's part of some type of Universal distribution deal. That makes more sense. I also wanted to check if it was getting a 4K release or not, but it's not. It's not. So this movie has a great cast in it. We've talked about it when it was announced. From the mind of George Lucas, creator of Star Wars and Indiana Jones, comes a star-studded madcap murder mystery that brings back the heyday of live radio and will keep you laughing and guessing until the show-stopping finale. The excitement begins as Chicago radio station WBN celebrates its first night on the air, complete with live dramas, comedy acts, and orchestral interludes, but the real action is behind the scenes. Someone is murdering the company employees one by one, and the station secretary, Penny, portrayed by Mary Stuart Masterson, and her estranged writer husband, Roger, Brian Benben, must join forces to find the killer. The loony suspects and potential victims include the eccentric sound effects man, Christopher Lloyd, the military-minded station owner, Ned Beatty, the slick announcer, Corbin Burnson, and the toupee top director, Jeffrey Tambor. Before the night is over, there will be romance, thrilling chases, narrow escapes, and a spellbinding, action-packed climax. The movie is okay. They're hyping it up to be way better than it actually is. It's okay. It's kind of like almost like a Robert Altman, ensemble comedy. Little maybe a little Christopher Guest quirkiness in there, but not quite, but not as good as either of those things. It really, really isn't. Um, it can be silly, it can be madcap, it could be, kind of silly violent, thinking of something like Clue, if you will. It's not as good as they're making it out to be, but it's a curious thing. And because it's from, the mind of George Lucas, that's kind of the selling point of it. But I don't know how involved he was in it. I think he wrote the screenplay, or at least a version of the screenplay. That's what I'm looking at here on IMDb. If IMDb would cooperate with me. Yeah, George Lucas wrote the story, and then a bunch of other people worked on the screenplay. But that's Radioland Murders. Let's see what else we've got here. Oh, Best Little Whorehouse in Texas is getting a Blu-ray release. Well, actually, this is the third Blu-ray release that I can remember. Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, the Dolly Parton and Burt Reynolds musical. Brand new HD master from a 2K scan of the 35mm interpositive. New audio commentary by film historians Paul Anthony Nelson and Perry Cummings. New audio commentary by entertainment journalist and authors Brian Reisman and Max Every. The making of the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas featurette. And that is it. So I am, yeah, like I said, Best Little Whorehouse in Texas has so many releases at this point. I remember years ago, Universal put out a Blu-ray release back in, was that 2016? There's been a release from our friends over at Umbrella. Actually, where are you? But I had it over here. Because it's behind me. Hold on. I have the box of Burt, or the Burt Reynolds collection. I've shown this off a couple of times, but I thought it was appropriate to show it now since they are releasing or re-releasing one of the movies that's in this set once again. And the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas is in this set, and also Cannonball Run 2, Stroker Ace, and The Man Who Loved Women. And this is a whole box of Burt set. This was fortunately sent to us over here at Chasing Labels from Umbrella when we had Ari Harrison on from Umbrella a couple of years ago. And yeah, this is definitely something I wanted. That's in this release here. I don't think it has any of the releases special features that the Kino one has. No, it doesn't. So this Umbrella release, I don't even know if it has the making of. So we have feature-length audio commentary by music historian Adam Devlin. Gator McCluskey presents the Burt Reynolds story, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. Nothing Dirty Going On, Sex Work and Musical Video Essay by film historian Lee Gambin. Oh, that's amazing. Making of documentary, which I guess is probably the making of documentary. Outtakes, and then that's it. So the Kino release obviously has got two new audio commentaries. That's what it has missing from here, and I guess the making of is the same. Just to give people a little sense of like what's out there. I'm not sure what the original Universal release had, but obviously by this point you want to get obviously the Kino or the Umbrella or something like that. But let me put that back over here. Let's see. I always forget which tab I'm on. Yeah, if you've never seen this movie, but you gotta like musicals, okay? You have to like musicals. You have to like Dolly Parton music and things like that, and then that'll definitely be more up your alley. So, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas documents in rousing song and dance a new Texas legend, which now joins the Alamo as a historical institution immortalized in story, song, book, play, and movie. The demise of the real-life Chicken Ranch inspired the hit stage musical. Now, this boisterous big screen adaptation, headed by superstar Burt Reynolds as Sheriff Ed Earl Dodd and Red Hot country legend Dolly Parton. who is the chicken ranch's proprietress, Miss Mona. The two join together not only in romance, but to fight big city TV crusader Melvin P. Thorpe, Dom DeLuise, in his efforts to expose the chicken ranch to public scandal and thus close it down. Uh, Charles Durning is in the film, who um, as well. I think it says it earned an Oscar nomination as the governor of Texas in this irresistible Southern fried classic from filmmaker Colin Higgins. So they're trying to save this burlesque house, essentially. Is this sex working house that's headed by Dolly Parton as the madam, and she's working along with the local sheriff in Burt Reynolds, and they have a little thing going on to save it. And of course, there's music and all this kind of stuff. It's good. Like I said, if you like musicals, it's definitely up your alley. Next is we're going into the Kino Cult area. So Kino Cult is on. They're in they're over 30 releases now in Kino Cult. They are in, where are they now? I think 37 releases. But anywho, this release coming September 30th is Ilsa, the She-Wolf of the SS, Kino Cult number 37. Yep, it's got an audio commentary by actress Diane Thorne, director Don Edmonds, and producer David F. Friedman, moderated by humorist Martin Lewis. New audio commentary by film historians Kat Ellinger and Evgeny Malodok. I probably mispronounced that brutally. She-Wolf of the SS interview with Don Edmonds by Elijah Drenner. And this is obviously a cult film. It's part of Nazi exploitation, which is a subgenre. It says the textbook example of Nazi exploitation and a cornerstone of the 1970s sexploitation cinema. Elsa She-Wolf of the SS dramatized the atrocities performed by sadistic commandant Diane Thorne at German concentration camps. You get the gist here. It's sexploitation, Nazi exploitation. It's an exploitation film from the 70s. But it's one of the most well-known ones. Hence why it's getting a 4K UHD release. Brand new from a brand new HDR / Dolby Vision Master. So moving on from there, we've got a box set, actually. A box set. Also, each of the movies are getting individual releases in both 4K and Blu-ray. And this is Airport, the complete 4-film collection, 1970 through 1979. Airport, you have Airport and its sequels. So Airport is getting a brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master from 4K scan of the 35mm interpositive reduction element. Okay. And then its sequels are getting a brand new HDR Dolby Vision Masters from 4K scans of the 35mm original camera negatives. Okay. So we also have a new audio commentary for Airport by film historians / writer Julie Kurgo and C. Courtney Joyner. And then a new audio commentary for Airport 1975 by film historians Steve Mitchell and Nathaniel Thompson. New audio commentary by Airport 1977 by film historian Julie Kurgo and filmmaker Peter Hankoff. And then a new audio commentary for Concord Airport 79 by film historian Steve Mitchell and Nathaniel Thompson. So you get all 4 films in the loose Airport franchise. By loosely, I mean like none of these movies are really connected, other than the fact that they take place at airports and plots happen in airplanes, and it's usually like some type of event that goes on where people need to be saved. Ironically, we just talked about Airplane, the sequel. The movie Airplane and Airplane 2, the sequel, are spoofs of these movies. They're spoofs of these kind of 1970s airplane-centric, I wouldn't say disaster movies, because they're not quite disaster movies, but they're plots that revolve around something happening to do with airports and airplanes, people having to be rescued, and all this kind of stuff. I've seen the first Airport movie. I actually watched it for the show here, and I actually rather enjoyed it. The first film has a incredible cast in Burt Lancaster and Dean Martin and Gene Seberg. Van Heflin is in that film. Maureen Stapleton is in that film. It's one of the last films of Van Heflin. Van Heflin for me is kind of one of my favorite character actors of all time. He's an Oscar winner, and he passed away I think in 1971, and this movie came out in 1970. I think this was like the third to last film that he was in, which was Airport. I haven't seen Airport 75 or Airport 77 or the last one, which is Concord Airport 79. Coincidentally, um, 3 out of 4 of these movies are currently streaming on Netflix, and they look rather good. At least Airport looked pretty good to me. So I don't know if they were just using the old HD remaster or master that um, Universal used, because these movies have been released before. This is not the first time that these have come out. At least Airport has been released before. Yeah, Airport: The Complete Collection came out in 2016, and Airport's been on Blu-ray since 2012 by um, by Universal. So these haven't been released individually before. Well, other than Airport. Airport's got a box set release as well as an individual release on Blu-ray from Universal, while the others were only available in an Airport Complete Collection that came out in 2016. I remember seeing this. I remember when this came out, actually. I remember seeing this in stores. You can still get it. It's pretty cheap, but obviously it's not going to have the new restorations. And to be honest, it didn't have any special features. And the trailer and the transfers were not that good from what I remember. Even for Airport, the transfer is not that great. So this is going to be worlds better. Um, yeah, I remember the Airport. The only thing it had was a trailer, and it had yeah, it actually had 3 trailers. It had a theatrical trailer, it had a trailer for, like, celebrating the 100th years of Universal Studios with a spot on the 1970s, and then I think it had a special feature that was about the backlot at Universal that was, like, 10 minutes long. So it was part of like that celebration of like 100 years of Universal that they did in the early 2010s. Um, and that's about it. So kind of nothing, really, really, absolutely nothing. So if anything, these commentaries are going to be a bit of a revelation. And of course, the transfers are going to be a revelation as well, considering that the old Universal Blu-rays don't look that good. This is part of that era of Universal Blu-rays from the early 2010s, late 2000s, mostly early 2010s, when they were celebrating their 100th anniversaries, where some of them looked good and some of them did not look good at all. And that was the point where I was like, Universal is kind of lazy when it comes to their remasters and their mastering and putting their Blu-ray and putting their catalog on Blu-ray outside of a certain elite films. Like for example, the Jaws Blu-ray looked incredible, while the Blu-rays for other catalog titles like The Sting didn't look very good. Like The Deer Hunter didn't look very good. Um, I remember Weird Science didn't look good at all. And a bunch of other catalog titles, but their Universal monsters looked good. You know what I mean? So they picked and choose which ones they wanted to make look fantastic, and the other ones not so much. They've since gone back and actually re-released a lot of those in much better condition. The Sting Blue 4K looks great. Even Jaws on 4K looks even better than the Blu-ray. The Deer Hunter they licensed out to Shout Factory that put out a great 4K. Et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? They even gone back and they licensed out Weird Science to Arrow, and Arrow put out a good release of that. So they've gone back and they gave the Breakfast Club to Criterion to put out on Blu-ray, and they actually put out their own remastered Blu-ray of the Breakfast Club because their first one didn't look so good. I'm going on a rant right now, and I need someone to stop me because I'm gonna go on. I gotta stop. I gotta stop because I will go on a rant forever about this stuff, because this is all stuff that bothers me to this day. To this day. That's why I'm glad the boutique label world exists, to where we can get these catalog titles out of the hands of the studios who perhaps don't want to put in the money, the time, and the effort to give these movies great releases or high quality releases that they deserve. So we're in a good spot right now when it comes to a lot of this stuff. But moving on from Airport and this collection, actually before we move on, the box set looks like it's oh boy, it looks like it's that book type of box set, the one with the sleeves where the discs go in the sides of them, and you've got to pull out the discs with your hands. This is a bad packaging. Oh, it's a not a good packaging because the glue on these things notoriously fades over time, and these things kind of fall apart on you. Think of remember the first Alfred Hitchcock set from Universal. Um, that it's this type of packaging. It doesn't look like it's gonna be great, but we'll see what happens. Let's see. Oh, we've got a collection. I'm just gonna go over this briefly because it's not really something that I want to talk too much about because I don't know much about it. So Dan Curtis's Late Night Mysteries. This is Kino Cult number 36. This is this is a set of TV movies from the 60s and going into the 70s. So perhaps no figure exerted a greater influence on 70s television horror than Dan Curtis. Having created the daytime drama Dark Shadows that ran from 1966 to 1971 while producing popular primetime TV movies like The Night Stalker, The Northern Tapes. His company produced standalone thrillers for ABC Television's Wide World Mystery, originally shot on videotape. The four productions in this collection have been carefully adapted to HD for this Blu-ray release. I'm curious what these are going to look like. Shooting on videotape in, I believe, the 1970s, I can only imagine what the quality looks like. Probably not great. But we will see what this looks like when it comes to putting them on HD and putting them on Blu-ray. Let's see which films we've got here. Let's see. Shadow of Fear stars Claude Akins as a disgraceful police officer hired to investigate crimes surrounding a psychological troubled housewife. In the invasion of Carol Enders, the spirit of a car crash victim is reincarnated into the body of another patient. Come Die With Me follows the cat and mouse relationship between a cavalier playboy and the housekeeper who tries to blackmail him. That's Eileen Brennan. Okay. A wholesome family experiences a Kafkaesque miscarriage of justice when they are accused of drug trafficking in Nightmare at 43 Hillcrest. And these, like I said, these all four are ABC mystery TV movies of the 1970s, I believe. Let me make sure it is actually the 1970s. They don't really tell me here. Yeah, 1974. Okay, that makes sense. Let's see. Special features: Nightmare at 43 Hillcrest commentary by film historian Amanda Reyes and Heidi Honeycutt, author of the I Spit on Your Celluloid, The History of Women Directing Horror Films. There are so many books by so many of these people who contribute to these releases, whether it be Kino or whomever. I need a running list because I want to get all of these books. I keep forgetting to. So that is Dan Curtis's Late Night Mysteries, Kino Cult, number 36. I will give Kino lots and lots of credit. They are one of the very, 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 very few companies that are putting out TV movies from yesteryear, from like the 70s and 80s, because those movies really don't see any type of love on home video. I mean, if they got a DVD release at some point, I find that to be a miracle. Not the world of TV before the modern era, a TV movie specifically, was not looked upon very favorably, and the quality was not very good as well. A lot of that has to do with the fact that they just didn't invest as much money, or anywhere near as much money as they do now. A lot of the big time actors had no interest doing TV whatsoever. It hasn't didn't start until the 2000s for the most part. Before then, people thought that if you went from doing movie acting to doing TV acting, your career was on the downward spiral. It really, really was. But now with the world of prestige TV, it's considered, very fortunate if you get a big time TV show like an HBO show, a Showtime show, or even something that's streaming on Apple TV. Apple TV spends so much money. Apple TV, Netflix, Hulu, uh, Paramount, Peacock, whatever the case may be. It's a world of difference than 1974. I can tell you that. What what all but interestingly, on the flip side, when it comes to TV stuff, miniseries I think have always been kind of well respected and pretty good. I'm thinking of 1970s. I'm thinking of Roots. Typically, I'm thinking of that. Um, In the 80s, you had that, I think, North and South. Um, in the 90s, you had HBO doing stuff when it comes to miniseries, and in the 80s too. But that's a whole different game. Whole different game. I got to move on. I got to move on. You see how distracted I keep getting? I got so much to say about so many different things. It just pops into my head. But moving on here, because we are taking up way too much time. The movie Stone Cold, starring Brian Bosworth, is getting a 4K UHD release. We don't know when, from a new HDR and Dolby Vision Master. It's an action film starring Brian Bosworth. If you don't know who Brian Bosworth was, he was he was a football player, who was a hell of a personality, I'll tell you that. There's a great 30 for 30 ESPN documentary called, I think, The Boz, where it's all about Brian Bosworth, him really reflecting on his football career and um, regretting a lot of it because he was all kind of out of control. Unfortunately, he was so hyped coming into the NFL, and his career kind of petered out very, very quickly. He played a couple of years in the NFL. He was a linebacker, and then he kind of tried to transition into doing movies. I think this may be his most famous one that he did, called Stone Cold. I think this is maybe where Stone Cold Steve Austin got his name. I don't know. But moving on from there, I think that nope, that's not it. So, The Wrong Arm of the Law, which is the Peter Sellers film, which I feel like I've talked about already. I think I did because the Studio Canal is putting it out. And I think I talked about this because Kino's announced this already. Yeah. So, coming September 9th, celebrating Peter Sellers' centennial, which I didn't realize that September 8th is Peter Sellers' 100th birthday. I didn't know that. Is Wrong Arm of the Law, 2003 HD master from the 4K scan of 35 millimeter original camera negative. New audio commentary by film journalist, Lawrence Lorman. The Long Arm of the Screenwriter, interview with screenwriter John Entrobus. Yeah, and I think this is I talked about this last time. Oh, no, I didn't talk. I have talked about this. Yeah, I talked about this a few weeks ago. So Peter Sellers is actually let me go to Letterboxd for this. Why not? Let's see. Hold on the law. Why not? For new listeners, you may be interested in this. The wrong arm of the law, not the long arm of the law. Let's see. The crooks in London know how it works. No one carries guns and no one resists the police. Then a new gang appears that go one better. They dress as police and steal from the crooks. This upsets the natural order of the police/criminal relationship, and the police and the crooks join forces to catch the IPOs. Yeah, and one of the kind of leaders of this, like the crooks, is Peter Sellers, and like he keeps getting his gang keeps getting robbed, and he thinks like, oh, the police must be doing it because these people are dressing up as police. And then he thinks perhaps like this other gang is doing it, like, hey, why are you doing this on my territory? But no, there's this new gang from like out of town that comes into here and starts doing these things. And now Peter Sellers has to work with the police in order to um figure out the problem here. It's a great comedy. It's a really funny comedy. I love Peter Sellers' work. Yeah, I talked about this already, so we'll move on from there because that is actually it from Kino. That's it from Kino. Okay. Let's see, where else will we go now? Let's go over to Radiance, okay? Because I talked about Radiance earlier today, or earlier in the episode, and now we will talk about them once again. Actually, I wanted to get something. Hold on. Completely forgot to get this before the show. But I got it now, and actually it's appropriate because the first thing I want to talk about, actually before I go to Radiance, let's see what we've got here with comments here wise. I haven't been keeping up on the comments, so I apologize. Illuminated Pro says, "What's good, man? Hope all is well. Thank you. Things are going all right. The summer is going by very, very fast, incredibly fast, to the point where I almost feel like it's not started yet. Yet we're over halfway through it. I don't know if life is moving fast for anybody else, but it's moving incredibly fast for me." Luminaire Pro also asks, "Are you watching the new Sunny season? It's crushing it." I am so many seasons behind on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia because there are so many seasons. It's not even funny. Um, I've been wanting to. I actually have like the first 7 seasons on DVD and Blu-ray, or at least when they started making the Blu-rays. I think I have the first 7 seasons. I think I've seen all of those. So I've seen half the show. I've got to see the second half. It's still shocking to me that that show is still going on. I love Danny DeVito, Charlie Day. Um, I like Charlie Day as well. I've been watching coincidentally. I've been watching that documentary about Wrexham. Well, that docu series really. They're on like the third season now of Wrexham. Um, Mac, Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds, their soccer team. Um, Kind of incredible stuff that they've done with that team. They brought it from the absolute brink of obscurity to relevance, which is incredible in the world of European football or European soccer, however you want to refer to it. It really, really is. But anywho, so I haven't been watching it, but that's one of my goals is to catch up on that show one day. Um, but moving on to Radiance, let's see. There they are. So they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 releases for I want to say Sep- I want to say these are their September releases. I never remember. Oh no, these are their October releases. My fault. They're already in October. I can't even think of October right now. So their releases are Daiei Gothic Volume 2 Japanese Ghost Stories. Daughters of Darkness is getting both a 4K release and a Blu-ray release. Malpertui is a Blu-ray release, and then Pocket Money, or I think it's called Small Change. I think that's its other title. That's a Francois Truffaut film. We will talk about that. But what I just got off of my shelf is the Daiei Gothic Volume 1, which I have. So if you have Volume 1, I think you'll really dig Volume 2. Because it's more of the same. I guess you could say that. I got to see 2 out of 3 of the film in this box set, and from what I saw, I rather liked. So let's get into what's in the Daiei Gothic Volume 2 box set. So Daiei Gothic Volume 2 has, let's see, Japanese classic ghost stories are brought to the screen by masters of the genre, Tokuzo Tanaka and Kimiyoshi Yasuda. In the demon, yes, I want to make sure to list these off for Ghost of Kasani Swamp, The Haunted Castle, and Demon of Mount Oi. So let's read this back here, shall we? In Demon of Mount Oi, a group of mighty warriors is sent to eliminate a demon who steals women from the imperial city of Kyoto. On the way, they face a satanic bull, a giant spider, and a diabolical witch. But the closer they come to their goal, the more they realize that the demon they've been ordered to kill is far more human than they were led to believe. Um, yes. Um, yeah, so great special effects for the time. Honestly, great special effects for now. Practical effects too. Costumes are incredible. I really, yeah, these movies are kind of a step up. I love the environment, the atmosphere of these ghost stories. They're eerie. Um, yeah, there's a little Shaw Brothers kind of infusion in here as well. I know it's a different culture and that's a different vibe and all that kind of stuff. But if you've seen kind of like that's more supernatural Shaw Brothers and Golden Harvest type of stuff, imagine that, but obviously set in Japan and whatnot. So you're getting interesting kind of, you know, um, um Asian. cinema flavor in there. In the haunted castle, a blind monk is killed in a cowardly manner by a samurai lord. When the monk's sister is ordered to become the lord's concubine, she commits suicide and transfers her grudge to their black cat, who assumed the human form of one of the lord's ladies in waiting and begins to wreak havoc around the castle court. The lord's Machiavellian right-hand man and a young swordsman um, combine forces to solve the mystery and stop the supernatural menace. Sounds cool. In The Ghost of Kasane Swamp, a samurai's wife tries to repay her husband's debt with her body, but is caught in bed with the moneylender, and they are both murdered by her husband, who dumps their bodies in a nearby swamp. Shiguro and Oshiga, the moneylender and samurai's children, find a curse has been passed to them as they each try to recover the money. I saw this. It's one of those where, like, uh, the curse is kind of being handed down. In this case, handed down to um, the the offspring of the people who started the curse. Essentially, it's good. Yet again, incredibly atmospheric, really great stuff. I watched, like I said, I spent my Saturday night last time watching Japanese movies. I spent my Saturday night this time watching Japanese movies as well. It's kind of becoming a theme here. It's I love these Dai Gothic box sets because this 1960s Japanese ghost story cinema is really something that's always fascinated me. Um I think of the ones that Criterion has put out. I think of those Onibaba, which is a great film. I think of Ugetsu, which is another great film. I think of Kuroneko. Kuroneko is another great one. So like those fit with these as well. But let's see what's in this limited edition box set. New 4K restorations of each film by Radiance Films, uncompressed mono PCM audio for each film, English subtitles, of course, newly designed box and booklet artwork by Time Tomorrow, limited edition 80-page perfect bound book featuring new writings by Amber T. Jasper Sharp and Todd Mess, plus archival writing by Daniel O'Neill, and original ghost stories, The Goblin of Oyama and The Vampire Cat. It's limited to 4,000 copies. They come in the box. They come. All their box sets are pretty darn solid. Um, like I've never had an issue with any of these sets. The cardboard is thicker than some other companies. They come in their each individual cases. Here's the booklet, just to give a sense of, I guess, what one of the booklets would look like. Rather thick, high quality, glossy paper. Yeah, definitely glossy paper. Bright glossy paper too. And each page is numbered. So this is an 80-page book. So I'm assuming volume 2 is going to be exactly similar to this. Yeah. So that is Dai Gothic Volume 2, Japanese Ghost Stories. Let's move on to Daughters of Darkness. Now, Daughters of Darkness has gotten a Blu-ray release before, I believe, by Blue Underground. Let me just make sure I'm correct on this. A couple of years ago, and I know a lot of people who bought that release. Yeah. So Daughters of Darkness came out in 2023 in 4K from Blue Underground here in Region A land. And like I said, I know tons of people got that release. And I think Daughters of Darkness also came out on... No, actually, so hold on. Okay. So the 4K came out in 2020, and then a standard edition of that 4K from Blue Underground came out in 2023. Okay. Now that makes more sense. I think there's also a Blu-ray of this as well, put out by Blue Underground. And I'm just... pretty good special features. Not gonna lie to you guys. The Blue Underground release has 3 commentaries. Wow. 3 commentaries plus a lot of featurettes. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and then the original release came with a soundtrack and a booklet. I think the standard just didn't have those. But let's go see what Radiance has for Daughters of Darkness. So, Daughters of Darkness, Newlywed Stefan and Valerie are traveling through Europe when they make a detour to a deserted seaside hotel. Their romantic idyll soon takes a dark turn when they meet the enigmatic Countess Bathory and her mysterious companion Ilona, or just Lona, um, whose unsettling charm and aristocratic poise mask a deadly intent. A Euro horror classic, Daughters of Darkness, is an opulent fever dream, weaving a sapphic subtext and feminist undercurrent beneath its baroque surface. Thematically rich, Harry Kumel's vampire tale transcends convention and is presented in a stunning 4K restoration for the first time in the UK. I agree with all of that. This movie has a very interesting um, vibe and aesthetic and atmosphere, and the themes are definitely there. Like all what they just said, definitely there. Feminist, sapphic themes, all this kind of stuff. Reminds me a lot of Jean Roland, like the Fantastique. I don't know if I'm supposed to be reading that or not reading that, but that's kind of what it reminds me of the whole time while I was watching it. It also reminds me I need to get more Jean Roland. It needs to be Jean Roland time all the time. But um, I dig this movie. I really dig this movie. Um, and I've been wanting to see it for years. Our friend Celeste Lacabre recommended this to me, I think, years ago. The first time she was on our show here on Chasing Labels, I think maybe during like an unwatched pile or something like that. I think she mentioned Daughters of Darkness, or it was something like that. Speaking of which, our unwatched pile episode will be happening next Monday. So look out for that. So 4K restoration from the original camera negative by Blue Underground, approved by director Harry Kumel. So same transfer as the one from Blue Underground. 4K UHD with Dolby Vision HDR and Blu-ray presentation of the feature. Audio commentary with authors Virginie Salavi, Lindsay Hallam, new interview with director Harry Kumel, and critic Ann Bilson, archival interview with Delphine Seyrig, in which the actor discusses her career, on-set footage with Harry Kumel and stuntman Thierry Halert. Oh boy, I butchered that. Behind-the-scenes footage of Delphine Seyrig shooting a scene from the film, and an interview with Harry Kumel. Interview with critic and author Kim Newman. Immortal Tales, Daughters of Darkness, Class, Cruelty, and the Cinematic Legacy of Bathory, a visual essay by Kat Ellinger, author of the monograph on the film. Yeah, Anne of the Maid, the Harry Kumel short film, based on the Jean Cocteau poem about a murderous maid. Ether, a Harry Kumel short film about the surreal visions of a man following an accident. And then a limited edition 80-page perfect bound book. Like how I always say, perfect bound book. Is there such thing as an imperfect bound book? I guess yes, there is. If the binding of a book comes undone, I guess you could call it imperfect. But I feel like when a book is made, it should be perfectly bound. I mean, that's the point. But that's neither here nor there. Let's see. Featuring the perfect bound book features writings from Susan Bolen, Martin Contario, Joseph Dwyer, Alexander Helen Nicholas, and Mayraid Roche. Awesome. Awesome. Some people we know. Limited edition of 5,000 copies. Let's see. This movie came out in 1971. It's region A, B, and C. I guess. Yeah, because the 4K is region free. Makes sense. Makes sense. I'm assuming the Blu-ray, because it's a UHD plus Blu-ray disc combo pack. I'm assuming the Blu-ray disc is region locked, while the UHD is region free. That would be my assumption. But that is Daughters of Darkness, and yeah, the hmm. So for the Blue Underground, I want to say, oh wow, I don't know how it compares to this one. I'm trying to do a side by side comparison right now, and it's not the time to do that during the show. Um, I'll say both of these are pretty extensive. Like, I don't think you could really go wrong with either of these releases. You get the same transfer. You do get the commentary by you get a commentary by. Oh, you don't get the commentary by The director. Okay. So the Blue Underground release, you do get, I would say, better commentaries because you get a director's commentary, which I kind of think is, you know, the best of commentaries you could get is by the director. But they're both pretty comparable. But anyway, I guess if you have the Blue Underground release, you may not need to get this one. But I don't have the Blue Underground release, so I'm probably going to get this one. And I'm also trying to get every Radiance release. So there you go. Kind of backed myself into a corner there. But Malpertuis, I did not get to see, so I don't know much about this movie. It's a film by it's another film by Harry Kumel, who directed Daughters of Darkness. So, uh, Jan, a sailor newly arrived on shore, is unsure about returning to land, but makes the journey to visit his childhood home, only to find it no longer there. That sucks. He goes to Bar Venus and joins his friends, but an altercation leaves him knocked out cold. Also sucks. He wakes up in Malpertuis, a gothic mansion presided over by his uncle, Casavius, who is portrayed by Orson Welles. Okay, I need this movie now. Um, all the inhabitants of Malpertuis are waiting for Casavius to die and the opportunity to inherit his vast fortune, but Casavius wishes anyone who inherits to stay there forever. Um, sounds like Hotel California. Yeah, Jan investigates as those who leave meet with mysterious deaths. Harry Kumel's daughter, who directed Daughters of Darkness, Phantasmagoria is a matryoshka doll of fantastic ideas realized with stunning photography by Jerry Fisher and scored by Georges Delerue, who did Contempt. Okay. Newly restored and overseen by Kumel, it is released on Blu-ray for the first time in the world. So this is a worldwide premiere Blu-ray. New 4K restoration of the film overseen by the director, audio commentary by Harry Kumel, new interview with Harry Kumel, wow. New interview with author and gothic horror expert Jonathan Rigby, Malpertuis archive and archival documentary of the making of the film, Orson Welles Uncut, a featurette on the casting of Welles, including rare outtakes. I need this now. Susan Hampshire, one actress, 3 parts, an archival interview with the actress, archival interview with Michel Bouquet, Michel Bouquet and Harry Kumel from Belgian television, Jean Ray, John Flanders, 1887 to 1964, an archival interview with the source novelist from 2005. Jeez. Malpertuis revisited. Harry Kumel visits locations. Malpertuis, the Cannes cut, the rejected version of the film, which premiered in Cannes, viewable in French or English, 100 minutes long. That's only in standard definition, though, so it's not in HD. The Warden of the Tomb, Kumel's early film based on Franz Kafka's play, and that is it. This is a mega release. Like, just for special features alone, this has to be 2 discs. There's no way this is a 1-disc release. This has to be 2 discs, right? Yeah, I think this is like one of those releases like Messiah of Evil or A Planet of the Vampires, that thicker special like limited edition release. Definitely so. Yeah, I think it most definitely is. Just looking at the pictures here on the radiancefilms.co.uk website, it looks like that. Holy heck, this is a mega release. So I'm a gigantic Orson Welles fan. That's why I had to like hold myself there for a second. Anything to do with Orson Welles, I need to have in my collection. So this is something that I will definitely be buying. I find the life and times and films and career of Orson Welles endlessly fascinating. To the point where I think about them randomly. I think about certain scenes from certain films of his all the time. I used to watch Citizen Kane like every year on my birthday. I'm one of those people who thinks Magnificent Ambersons, had we gotten the original cut of that, may have been better than Citizen Kane. Like I kind of firmly believe that. I'm also one of those gullible fools that think that we will eventually find the long lost missing parts of Magnificent Ambersons, and they will give us the original Orson Welles cut of a Magnificent Ambersons. I'm I would love for that to happen. I don't know if it's ever gonna happen in my lifetime. Um, it's it's really, really yeah, his career is fascinating, endlessly fascinating to me. He was a man and a filmmaker so far ahead of its time that I don't think Hollywood knew what to do with him, and, certainly didn't appreciate him, and I don't know if the audiences realized it at all until much later on in his life. Um, and I think nowadays, obviously, he's remembered so much more fondly, and his work is looked at so much more fondly than when it existed. And he was also someone who didn't get to make all of the movies he wanted to make. And some of the movies that he did make weren't even his own cuts of his movies. You know what I mean? Where there's so much unknown with Orson Welles that it fascinates me too. But that's just a little Orson Welles aside here. So that is Malpertuis, another great release from Radiance. And then last but certainly not least here is a Francois Truffaut film. Um, and this is an interesting movie. Apparently, this is like Francois Truffaut's most beloved film. I didn't know that actually. It's called Pocket Change. No, it's called Pocket Money. Sorry, Pocket Money. But an alternate title is I think Small Change. The summer of 1976, the quaint town of Thiers. Life is a buzz at the local school. Confident Patrick is besotted with his young teacher, Madame Petit. His friend and new transfer Julian struggles through no fault of his own to keep up. Meanwhile, Bruno teaches his peers other important life lessons like how to chat up girls. Together, this interwoven series of vignettes capture the children as they navigate the joys and heartbreak of growing up, with charming and honest performances from its young cast, including his own daughter Laura. Francois Truffaut brilliantly captures the true spirit of adolescence with humor, poignancy, and a touch of magic. A critical and commercial success around the world, Pocket Money is presented here on Blu-ray for the first time in the UK. So, yeah, this, like I said, this movie is considered to be, one of Truffaut's most successful movies, if not his most successful movie, in the sense that it was just seen so much and so um well received over time and over years. I mean, obviously, I think when I think of Truffaut, I think immediately 400 Blows. I think of Jules and Jim, um, things like that. But this movie apparently is very popular, and I could definitely understand why after seeing it. After seeing the movie, it's got a charm to it. It's got a universal, like timeless quality to it. It's dealing with children, it's dealing with adolescence, it's dealing with coming of age, but it's dealing with a lot of universal themes in that realm. Because we all experience adolescence in our own way, but there are certain commonalities throughout the generations. Dealing with having to talk with, uh, you know, whether with other young people at the time, different people dealing with different circumstances at home, having a good home, having a bad home, having an abusive home. How does that translate to how you perform in school versus not performing in school in terms of your academics? Type of relationships do you have with your teachers and your peers, and what do you do in for hobbies and off time? What are you into? I mean, obviously, those things change over time culturally because of the way and world in which we live in, but there's a lot of commonalities within it. And that's why I think this movie's definitely endured over time. I want to see where else this movie was released, because I'm not quite sure about that. Because it's not its worldwide premiere on Blu-ray, although I it says it's its worldwide premiere in the UK, but there's no other Blu-ray release anywhere other than this one. Yeah, it's called Pocket Money or Small Change. Let's see what we got here for special features. High definition digital transfer, original uncompressed mono PCM audio, interview with director Francois Truffaut from 1975, on set footage with Truffaut and the cast, interview with curator Sonali Joshi, and then trailer commentary by filmmaker Alan Arkush, and that's it. Okay, so not much, but we still get some archival stuff from Truffaut, which is pretty cool. Um, let's see. Yeah, there's a booklet in here with Truffaut's written introduction in it. Okay, that's cool. So yeah, that's the movie Pocket Money or Small Change. Definitely gonna be getting this. I have a couple of their other True, or at least one of their other Truffaut releases. So Truffaut's work has been getting various releases all over the place. Criterion obviously is the one that I think everybody goes to immediately when it comes to Truffaut's work. I just talked about the Antoine Duanel set. That's Truffaut. I got to get that actually. I mentioned it earlier. Now it reminds me again. Still got to get it. Just came out. So Criterion is kind of, I guess, the main hub with Truffaut, but some other companies have been releasing Truffaut's work too. I know Kino's put out a few Blu-rays. I know that Radiance has put out a few Blu-rays too. So his work is definitely out there. He's one of my favorite. He's probably my favorite French film director. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, other French film directors, probably my favorite. His work has definitely stood the test of time because it's dealing with certain universal truths and universal themes and things like that. Very contemporary stuff, or stuff that has become contemporary. Um, yeah, I love Agnes Varda too. Agnes Varda to me is kind of a unique, once in a lifetime filmmaker. Really unique. Like her work is extraordinary. Um, that box set by Criterion is kind of a marvel. That box set of like all of her work is truly glorious, or a truly glorious release. Like that's a treasured release. To have the work of to have like every work of some of a director in one collection, I think is kind of marvelous. Um, yeah, I have some other comments here as well. Um, Adam Schofield says on Malpertuis, Wells wouldn't get out of bed without having 2 bottles of wine. Then he'd got to the set and spend the entire day in bed again. He spends the entire movie in bed. That sounds about right. That sounds about right. Orson Welles notoriously difficult to work with too. Most definitely. I totally agree with you on that, Adam. Let's see. Adam Schofield. I watched the documentary about 10 years ago. Very good. Oh, he also says, I watched a doc about 10 years ago on Malpertuis. It's very good. Gotcha. Gotcha. Um, where was I? So, yeah, so Pocket Money, Truffaut's work is definitely out there. His 70s work is very interesting. This is his 70s work. I'm more familiar with his 60s work, obviously. I think that's where a lot of us start with Truffaut, and I think that's where a lot of our collections with Truffaut start. But his 70s work is fascinating to me as well. I got to get more into it to kind of get a sense of it. But that is it from Radiance. That is their October releases of the Dai Gothic Volume 2 Japanese Ghost Story box set. Daughters of Darkness, the Blu-ray and the 4K UHD release of that. Malpertuis is a Blu-ray release that's coming out as well. And then we have Pocket Money, or its alternate title, Small Change, by Francois Truffaut. That's coming out on Blu-ray as well. So that's it from Radiance. Next month, they will have their November announcements. We will get to that when that arrives. Let's go over to... I'll quickly do these because I don't have a lot to say about them. But let's go over to Severin. So Severin's website right now is actually shut down as they prepare for the Severin sale, which is happening July 25th through July 28th. So that is next weekend. It says the Bedlam begins July 25th at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, if you go onto their Facebook page or if you go to their website, they have a list of they have a list of all of the movies that are on sale for the first time during this sale. It says the Severin Summer Sale 2025 is less than a week away. Here's a handy list of the titles that are on sale for 50% off for the first time. And there's a whole list of movies here. Some, let's see. Oh, Opera is the one that definitely interests me the most. Cemetery Man is another one. Although I don't know if that yeah, that's another one. Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker that's an interesting movie. The Devil's Honey, which is I believe the Fulci film, that's interesting too. We'll have to see price wise. That's the one thing with the Severin sale is some prices are great, some prices not as great as you would hope for. I think the Vinegar Syndrome sale is the same way too. I mean, all of these sales are kind of the same way. You gotta dig in. You gotta sift through all of it and see the diamonds that you can find. That's what I love. That's what I love about collecting. Oh, that's my favorite part is the hunting. It's always the thrill of the hunt, to find those good sales, to find the good prices, to find those ones that you've been looking to get for your collection, the rare ones that are maybe out of print, and sometimes the store or the place doesn't know what they have, so you get it for an absurdly good price. Oh, good times. Good times. Oh, it gets me nostalgic. But Severin has been releasing um their sale title, like, yeah, there's Severin summer sale hidden titles, some new titles that they're going to release during the sale. Um, and they started last time we talked briefly about Baskin was their number one release. That's the one they started with, and we'll just start with that one this time. I didn't get to talk about it because I hadn't seen the movie, and they had just announced it that day that I was doing I was doing the Chasing Labels episode, so I didn't really have any time to get into it. There comes a point, unless something massively drops on the day of recordings of these episodes, that there comes a point where I just have to cut off what I'm going to talk about, or else I'll just never stop. Let's see. As I'm scrolling all the way back down to like 2 weeks ago, we do have, yeah, Severin Summer Tale title reveal number one is Baskin, which is the 2015 Turkish film. And yes, it's getting a 4K UHD release, audio commentary with director Can Evernol. And it says Baskin 10 years later, the making of Baskin, and that is, oh, no, there's some Evernol short films. There's the original Baskin short film, which the movie is based on, To My Mother and Father, My Grandmother, The Chest, and then Screws. These are all short films by the director of Baskin, Can Evanroll. Now, Baskin is an interesting kind of movie, definitely done in the vein of the French Extreme that from the 2000s. Think of like High Tension, think of Martyrs, think of those movies. It's very much in the vein of that, but it's also very much. It reminded me of Hellraiser. It reminded me of the movie Jigoku. I don't know if you've ever heard of the movie Jigoku. It's available on DVD through Criterion. But it's dealing with like hell dimension torture and gruesome violence and stuff like that. Weird creature things going on. Um, that's kind of the movie. So when a five-man police squad is lured into a realm where torment, depravity, and damnation are the only law, they'll become prisoners of an abyss from which there may be no mortal escape. There you go. Yeah, that's Baskin. So I'm pretty sure many of you have seen it. Perhaps I think it's streaming on Shutter. So that would be a place to watch it if you haven't seen it yet. If you can stomach these types of things, it's not for everyone. But we've got the second reveal, Severin Summer Sale title number two, is Monster Shark. This is a Lamberto Bava film, with Lamberto Bava as director. Let's see. This Italian shock exploitation favorite has certified monster pedigree when several locals in coastal Florida town are found with limbs chopped off. An electronic expert joins a team of marine biologists to hunt a genetically modified creature that is part shark, part octopus, and 100% prehistoric fish. This movie's not good. This movie's pretty bad. Not only is this movie bad, that shark that they just described, you never see it. You never see it. This movie is not good. Which is crazy to me because Lamberto Bava is the son of Mario Bava, and he directed the movie Demons and Demons 2, and Demons is good. Like, Demons is very good, and even Demons 2 I like too. But this movie, Monster Shark, not good. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I didn't watch all of these hidden titles. The ones I did watch, none of them are good. To me personally, obviously, films are subjective, all this kind of stuff. Severin releases a certain type of movie. If you're familiar with Severin's game, you know the types of movie that they release. They're not many of them are typically not what you would say are great all time films. You know what I'm saying? they're typical people who like really bad horror films or cheesy horror films or 80 or terrible 80s slashers, all this kind of stuff. You like what you like, you collect what you like, all that kind of stuff. I'm not judging you for that. For me, a lot of this stuff is just it's watchable, but man, I wouldn't spend money to buy it. You know what I'm saying? Um, but there's an audio commentary with shock exploitation experts Steven Scarlatta, Josh Miller, and Matt Mercer. They call him John Old Jr., a talk with director Lamberto Bava, Man vs. Devilfish interview with actor Michael Sop Sopkoy, Sopkoy, I think. Um, yeah, the movie's alternate title is also called Devilfish, which is a cooler title than Monster Shark. But either way, the movie's not good. It's just not good. Um, let's move on to uh, number three. So number three is the movie Skinheads, which I didn't get to see. So I have no idea what this movie's about. It's a Euro cult classic. Let's see. Marco is an unemployed 22-year-old stoner who still lives at home with his mother, but when he's drawn to a local group of neo-Nazis, their escalating violence towards immigrants and minorities will collide with his growing relationship with a beautiful African woman. Um, yeah, so obviously conflict of interest. It seems like in the vein of American History X. So it actually sounds interesting to me. In the Name of Hate, feature-length documentary with director Claudio Fragasso, co-writer, a bunch of people. Okay. It's a feature-length documentary, I'm assuming about the movie. But it sounds interesting. Sounds interesting. Let's see. Next is Dead Sleep. Okay, this movie, boy. Oh, this is an exploitation film, I think, starring Linda Blair. So Dead Sleep, this is title reveal number 4. Academy Award nominee Linda Blair stars in this exploitation shocker based on the real life Chelmsford hospital horror that led to 24 deaths, stunned 80s Australia, and rocked the world of mental health care forever. A new nurse arrives at a private clinic and discovers that the renowned resident psychiatrist is treating short-term patients with a combination of coma-like sedation and electroconvulsive therapy. But when these unorthodox procedures trigger dozens of tragedies, she'll risk her own life to expose decades of malpractice and murder. It's not a great movie. The movie's scored by Brian May, who just scored The Road Warrior and the movie Patrick. The movie scanned in 4K from the original camera negative by Studio Canal. Oh boy. Sleep Demon interview with a bunch of people. The right side of the stethoscope, visual essay on the medical melodrama subgenre. Oh boy. But that's Dead Sleep. Like I'm just gonna go through these quickly because there's like 14 of these. So I'm on 5. Let's see. Number 5 is yep, this is one. Oh boy. Night of the Sharks. So Night of the Sharks is a rest in peace. 3-time Golden Globe nominee Treat Williams of Hair and Prince of the City fame. Uh, Prince of the City fame took this Italian shock exploitation plunge in this insane and really good-natured um, thriller, now officially licensed on North American disc for the first time ever. Life in quiet Mexican fishing village is ripped to pieces when a laid-back guide and his business partner, it was portrayed by Antonio Fargas he was Huggy Bear in um, Starsky and Hutch. No, not Starsky and Hutch. Yeah, Starsky and Hutch. Become entangled with international assassins, $2 million in diamonds, and a local shark named Cyclops with an insatiable hunger for foolish divers. Um, this movie is also pretty terrible, but I love Treat Williams. Like he's kind of one of my favorites of all time. When he tragically passed away a few years ago, I was incredibly sad for it. I died in a motorcycle accident. Um, uh, just a really good actor, really good actor. He's been in a lot of things. Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, he was in the movie Hair. He was in so many movies. He was in one of my favorite TV shows of all time, in Everwood. He played the father in that show. And in this movie's kind of interesting to me because it's not really. It is a shark exploitation film in the sense there is a shark in it, but the plot doesn't revolve around a shark at all. So what happens in this movie is that Treat Williams' character's brother steals some information from I want to say mobsters or some bad guys, whatever. And it's on a CD disc. We're going back to CD discs now. It's on a disc. Um, and he takes it and he's blackmailing them for like $2 million in diamonds. But they want to go after him and kill him. And he, spoiler alert, it ends up happening, but he gives the disc to his brother, Treat Williams, and now they're after him. And it's Treat Williams and Antonio Fargas, like I said, Huggy Bear, and they are like trying to not get killed. And there's also like a priest involved, and I think Treat Williams' character's ex-wife is there for some reason too. I don't know. It's not great. But but he's a shark hunter. That's where the shark thing comes in. He's like a shark hunter in Florida, I think. It's not a good movie. He's a shark hunter, and there's this shark that's like stalking him. It's so dumb. There's this shark that's stalking him and wants to like every time he goes in the water, it like attacks him. There's the whole shark exploitation thing. I'm getting way too tired. Um, let me go back to that. For special features, no, CD soundtrack. That's it. Let's see. Number 6 is actually interesting. We have Fearless Dragons. Few iconic 70s Hong Kong studio Goldig Films Limited. Comes one of the favorite action comedies in the history of the genre. When two wily conmen, martial arts movie legends Philip Ko and Brian Lung are framed for hijacking a trunk full of charity funds, they'll join forces to find the real bandits in a wild series of adventures that lead to an utterly fantastic final battle, ranking among the most exciting 2-on-1 fight scenes ever. Audio commentary with Frank Zhang and Michael Worth, co-producers of Enter the Clones of Bruce. Noah Hero's Respect a Hero interview with director Li Chu. Real Kung Fu actor Philip Ko remembers Fearless Dragons. And that's it in terms of special feature. This is actually one I'm interested in seeing. But let's move on, shall we? We are on to number 7. Number 7 is, Ferret Vampire. Oh, do I have a movie for you? From Yuraj Herz, the award-winning writer-producer of Morgiana, The Ninth Heart, and The Cremator, and subversive genius of Czech New Wave, comes the disturbing shocker driven by cultural provocation, political paranoia, and a supercharged take on the vampire mythos. Now on disc for the first time ever in America, when Ferret Motors introduces a new high-performance sports car, a trauma doctor investigates a bizarre theory that the vehicle is a biological machine fueled by human blood. So we have a vampire car. Yuri Menzel. Yeah. It says Yuri Menzel and the iconic Skoda 110 Sport star in this deeply weird horror thriller with sci-fi overtones and a touch of Cronenberg. That's where I was hoping this movie would go. I was hoping this movie would be more like a David Cronenberg film. And there's one scene in the movie where I'm like, this is a straight up David Cronenberg moment, and it's awesome, and it's great, and it's gross, and it's fantastic. The rest of the movie is not that. The rest of the movie is kind of boring, in my opinion. As they're going around trying to he's trying to figure out or try to prove that his theory that this car is runs on blood and whatnot. I needed more scenes of Cronenberg type stuff. Unfortunately, this movie does not have those. Audio commentary with film historian Michael Brook. I mentioned Michael Brook earlier. Here he is again. Archival audio commentary with film critics Lars Dreyer-Winkelmann. A person undergoing a strange sequence of events. Actress Jane Breskova remembers Ferret Vampire. Vampires Limited screenwriter Jan Fleischer on adapting Ferret Vampire. Eat Up the Road. Uper Zifaratu and the Legend of the Blood Car, video essay by filmmaker Steven Broomer. We know Steven Broomer, I believe. The archival interview with director Uraz Herz and actors Jane Breskova and Vit Ulmer. The Iron Vampire archival interview with auto/prototype engineer Stanislav Sinki. Ferret Vampire close up, a look at the Skoda prototype that was used for the ferret in the film. A Strange Airlines, 59 minutes long, a 1992 Czech TV movie based on Vampire Limited. Oh. Um, Based on Vampire Limited author Joseph Nesvaba's 1966 short story Morder, starring Czech actress Jane Perskova. Booklet featuring the original short story Vampire Limited by Josef Nesvadba. And a new introduction by Czech science fiction historian Ivan Adamovich. Interesting release there. I mean, it's a good release of a movie that I wasn't too keen on, but I understand why it's got a bit of a cult following. Definitely understand that. Let's see. Moving on from there, we are on to number 8. Let's see. Oh, Sisters. Okay, so in 2000, I'm just going to say this. In 2006, they remade Brian De Palma's movie Sisters. It's a 3-disc collection, actually. This is a 4K release. There's an audio commentary with director Douglas Buck and David Gregory of Severin Films, archival audio interview with the director, 2 trailers and a CD soundtrack. The Blu-ray has those 2 audio commentaries plus deleted scenes plus a making of plus 2 trailers plus Guy iPix presents Tales from Beyond the Pale: Hidden Records by Douglas Buck featuring Kevin Kline and Tony Todd. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Performance live July 27, 2015. Performed live 2027, 2015. Don't know what that is. The Broken Imago promo for unmade Douglas Buck feature. Electric Blue by Pornography exclusive music video directed by Douglas Buck. So they remade the Brian De Palma movie Sisters. Or reimagined it, that's what they're saying. Takes the themes of the disturbed bloodlines to startling new extremes for the first time ever in UHD, when a persistent reporter investigates a controversial doctor. She'll uncover a case of murder manifestation and identical twins. Yeah. All right. This looks like a pretty deluxe release. Let's move on to number 9. All right. Severin Films release number 9. Where are you? Ah, yes. The Shark Hunter. I know nothing about this movie. It's getting a worldwide disc premiere with a bonus CD soundtrack. Let's see. The other shark movie from legendary ad director Enzo G. Castellari, who directed The Last Shark, The Inglourious Basterds, brings him together with Street Law and Chiyomo star Franco Nero, along with a screenplay co-written by Tito Carpi, with an outstanding score by Guido and Mauricio De Angelis for a high-speed, double-barreled, shark-punching blast in a Mexican seaside village. A reclusive fisherman, Franco Nero, with a haunted past, battles cold-blooded treasure hunters to retrieve $100 million from an underwater grotto infested with killer sharks. That's all I need to know. It's Franco Nero, like, treasure hunting and fighting sharks. I get it. Kind of want to see this movie. I think it's streaming on Tubi. Man, if I had more time, I would have watched it for the show. But deep bond reunion between director Enzo G. Castellari and actor Franco Nero. Money and Fins interview with producer Enzo Doria, Guido and Mauricio De Angelis CD soundtrack. There you go. Franco Nero fighting sharks. There you go. Let's move on. La 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 la. They're actually putting all of these shark movies in one box set if you want that. So Monster Shark, Night of the Sharks, and The Shark Hunter you can buy in a box set from Severin called Feeding Frenzy: The Italian Sharksploitation Collection. Moving on. Let's see. Number 10. Number 10's Kill List. So, Severin Summer's sale title reveal number 10, Kill List. The award-winning 2011 breakthrough film from writer-director Ben Wheatley. I've seen this movie. Okay. This is actually a good movie. Has been called dark and disturbing and furious, shockingly violent and sensational. It will now blow you away like never before in UHD for the first time ever when an on-edge family man and an unemployed contract killer accepts a new assignment of three separate targets. The list will drag him to the edge of madness and plunge him into the depths of hell. Um, yeah. I remember I've seen this movie. I remember liking it a lot. I like Ben Wheatley's work. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but I like Ben Wheatley's work. So, this UHD release looks like 2 discs. The UHD disc has 3 commentaries. Audio commentary with co-writer director Brian Wheatley and Severin Films' Mike Hewitt. Archival commentary with Ben Wheatley and co-writer Amy Jump. Archival commentary with actors Neil Mescal, Miana Buring, and Mike Smiley. Um, Audio commentary with co-writer and director Ben. Well, why am I reading this again? Losing my mind here. So the Blu-ray has got those 3 commentaries. Plus, it has the Hitman Return. It has the Gift of Sound and Vision, which is an interview with the director of photography, and sound recordist Rob Entwistle. Unsettling Soundscapes interview with sound designer Martin Pavey. Cunning stunts in the editing room interview with editor Robin Hill. Archival making of featurette. Archival interviews with the director, producers, and actors. Assault on Sun Hill, Ben Wheatley's John Carpenter homage filmed for Fright Fest 2011, featuring Neil Maskell and Miana Buring. That is the kill list. See, now this is something I want. This is something I'm definitely interested in at some point in the future. But let's move on to number 11. So, Severin Summer Sale title number 11 is Asylum, and this is a 4K UHD upgrade. So this is something they have already put out before, and I believe they are upgrading. In 1972, the studio that dripped blood brought together director Roy Ward Baker, screenwriter Robert Bloch. Wow, he directed the book of Psycho. He wrote the book Psycho. And an all-star cast that includes Peter Cushing, Britt Eklund, Herbert Lom, Patrick McGee, and Robert Powell. Wow. And Charlotte Rampling. Holy hell. For the classic, the spinning image calls the most entertaining amicus portmanteaus now in UHD for the first time ever. Here inside the gates of Dunsmore Asylum for the incurably insane, you'll discover 4 disturbing tales of voodoo vengeance, murderous mannequins, psychotic ingenues, and demonic dolls, and one killer twist of an ending. All right, I'm not going to read the rest of that because I'm already hooked. I wanted to watch this actually in time for the show, but I did not have that time. The 4K UHD has an audio commentary with the director and camera operator Neil Binney. Well, director Roy Ward Baker and camera operator Neil Binney. The Blu-ray has that same documentary plus Dr. Martin's challenge interview with actor Robert Powell. Two's a Company, 1972 BBC on-set report. Wow. So I guess they went on the set to check things out. Not check things out, but, do some interviews of like the director and some of the actors and all that kind of stuff. Author David J. Show on Robert Bloch. Fiona Subotsky remembers her husband Milton Subotsky. Inside the Fear Factory, interviews with directors Roy Ward Baker and Freddie Francis, and producer Max J. Rosenberg. See, this is another one that kind of interests me as well. I should have watched the ones that were interesting me. But the thing is, like, for me, it was more of like watching them as they were being announced. You know what I mean? And then other things got announced from other places, so I didn't have time to go back and watch some of these Severin releases. But here's another UHD upgrade. This is Severin Summer Sale title reveal number 12, Wild Beasts. For his final work, Godfather of Mondo Franco E. Prosperi, writer and director of Mondo Cane, Africa Blood and Guts, and Goodbye Uncle Tom. Oh, that's a hell of a movie. Took on the Nature Strikes Back genre and delivered perhaps the most shocking movie of his controversial career, now in UHD for the first time. When PCP gets into the water supply of a city zoo, the drug-crazed beast, including tigers, lions, cheetahs, hyenas, and elephants, as well as seeing eye dogs and sewer rats, go berserk and rampage through the streets of Frankfurt. That's all I need to know. It's a monster attack movie. It's a animal attack movies. Let's see. The UHD disc doesn't have any special features, but the Blu-ray has Altered Beast interview with director Franco E. Prosperi, Wild Tony interview with actor Tony DeLeo, Cut After Cut, Interview with the Editor, The Circus is in Town, Interview with Animal Wrangler. House of Wild Beasts is a visit to the home of Franco E. Prosperi. Okay. So that is Wild Beasts getting a 4K UHD release, an upgrade, actually. Number 13. Oh, this is a movie. This is a movie. Now, this is the best movie of this whole list. Okay. Severin Summer Sale title reveal number 13, UHD upgrade, is the Penelope Spheris film, The Boys Next Door. This is a great movie. This is, honestly, this is perhaps one of the best movies Severin's ever put out. I have it. Boy, where is it? I think it's all the way down there. But I was gonna pull it off the shelf, but I think it's down there somewhere. But this is a movie that is what a hard movie to watch. But really, really good. So, in the moment, 80s teen movies turn dangerous, unflinching, and all too real. Now, this dark, forbidding vision from Penelope Spheris, director of the Decline of Western Civilization trilogy, which is that's a great documentary series of 3 films. That's really, really good. As well as Wayne's World, completely different. The screenwriters Glenn Morgan and James Wan, creators of Final Destination and writers slash producers of The X-Files, comes to UHD for the first time ever. Maxwell Caulfield and Charlie Sheen star as high school outcasts who head to Los Angeles for a spree of petty crime, senseless violence, and savage murder that is fast, angry, and what a genuine punk torpedo should be. This movie is this exploration of like teenage, I would say, angsty nihilism and just cruelty and violence and just not caring really at all. What a fascinating movie. I heard that Penelope Spheris didn't even want to like talk about this movie after a while, like because it was so like such a disturbing movie on such a real level. And I remember we talked with Andrew Furtado probably when he first came on, or one of the times when he came on, who was a producer over at Severin, and he talked about how Penelope Spheris didn't want to do any special features for it. She didn't want to talk about the movie because it's so so disturbing. But there's an audio commentary with director Penelope Spheris and actor Maxwell Caulfield. The Blu-ray has that same audio commentary, has Blind Rage interview with Stephen Thrower, author of Nightmare USA, Both Sides of the Law interview with actors Maxwell Caulfield and Christopher McDonald, Give Us Your Money interviews with street band performers Tescala Jones and Tequila Mockingbird, Caveman Day cinematics interview with Penelope Spheris and Maxwell Caulfield, Tales from the End Zone interview with actor Kenneth Cortland, The Psychotronic Tourist, The Boys Next Door, alternate opening title sequences and extended scenes. Yeah, this movie is fascinating to me because Penelope Spheris also did another movie. She did what was that movie called? Suburbia. Suburbia, which is very similar to this. Not as dark, but similar. Suburbia's got a Blu-ray release from Shout Factory here. It's got a Blu-ray release from 101 Films in the UK. And it's another movie. It's a movie with her dealing with similar subjects of lost, unguided youth, but in a different context. Like they're not violent in Suburbia. They're not like nihilistic, like street kids going out to commit violence for the sake of committing violence, doing crime for the sake of doing crime. It's kind of the opposite. They just want to be themselves, but they just happen to look and act the way in which society rejects them. They dress in certain ways, they act in certain ways. A lot of it is dealing with, their sexual identities and things like that. So it's really, really good. And the third film in her documentary series is dealing with those children in real life. Children who live on the streets and live in poverty because their families have kicked them out for various reasons, but mostly due to the fact that it's just that their families are just terrible people and the fact that their families just reject them for who they are. And the reason I'm bringing all of that up is because that is a very still contemporary thing of youth being targeted being labeled, being ostracized, being excluded, being picked on, being bullied, being persecuted, just for them being who they are. Um, you know, it's a fascinating theme that keeps recurring throughout cinema and keeps recurring throughout reflecting our real life world. So Penelope Spheres was doing a lot of that back in the 80s. And I know her third film, The Decline of Western Civilization Part 3, was much later on. I think it was done in the 90s. Let me check uh, IMDb really quickly. Her first two parts of that, the first one was done about, I think, the punk rock scene, and this, which of course is dealing with youth culture in general. The second part, I think, was dealing about with 80s metal or just metal in general. Um, yeah, so the Decline of Western Civilization Part 2 is the metal years, and the Decline of Western Civilization Part 1, see if I can find Part 1. Here it is um I don't think it has a sub. No, it doesn't have a sub, but it is dealing with punk rock scene in like the late 70s, early 80s. It's a really fantastic documentaries. You can buy them, I think, all together in a set from Shout Factory that I think is still available. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's still available. They used to sell it at Best Buy of all places. On Blu-ray too. There is a Blu-ray of it. But I want to see that third part. I want to see what year it came out. Yeah, it came out in 1998. Okay. Yeah, The Decline of Western Civilization 3 is a 1998 documentary that follows the gutter punk lifestyle of homeless teenagers. So it is dealing with a lot of that type of stuff that I was just talking about, but it was done in the late 90s. So you have like 1981. I think the second one was 1984. Let's see. 1988. So 1981, 1988, and 1998. So you're getting pretty significant jumps and gaps in terms of, you know, commenting on society and whatnot. I really love, like I said, I really love that documentary series. That that's what really got me into Penelope Spheres' work. What's interesting is that she went to Hollywood and did Wayne's World, of all things, when she was doing movies that were not even close to Wayne's World. And then I think she kind of left Hollywood. I want to say sometime after that because she didn't do Wayne's World 2. Um, um, it's interesting. Let's see. Some comments here. Where was I? There are some comments here. Let me get back to them. Let's see. Adam asks, "Do you have a letterbox?" I do. I do have a letterbox actually. I have one. It's Cabzilla 06. So CABZILLA, and then the number 0 and then the number 6. That, and then you'll see my picture there. It's a much younger me in that picture. I really need to update it. I said that a long time ago and I never did. But that is me, and you'll basically see me logging in everything I watch for the show, plus everything else I watch personally too. Um, so yeah, so I do have, and I'm on Letterbox all the time, like every day, multiple times a day. Adam Schofield asks, Asylum is one of my favorite portmanteau horror. The rapper story is cleverly done. Best story is the Cushing one and gives us a visual great performance. Oh, I'm good. I'm glad to hear that because I really still want to watch it. Um, then Adam Schofield says, I haven't gone down the Letterboxd rabbit hole yet. Might do. I've been on Letterboxd since 2012, 2013, and to be honest, I watched so many movies that I need to log and keep up with this stuff, or else my mind gets overwhelmed. Same thing with collecting. I need to log things, or else I get so overwhelmed. Even with collecting things, like I collect books and I collect comic books as well. Um, so books, I use Goodreads. Goodreads is kind of like the standard. It's essentially the letterboxd of books. For comic books, I actually just finally got an app like earlier this year. I should have got it years ago or something years ago. I've started to log my comic books on there. It's nice to have these things just to look at them, or else, you know, I'll forget. To be honest, I'll forget a lot of what I have sometimes. Or sometimes you think you have something, then you don't have it. Like, for example, I thought I had the movie Twister. I don't. And I thought I had it for years, and I apparently don't. I think because my mind, like, played tricks on me, 'cause I used to see the Blu-ray of Twister in bargain bins so often that I thought at one point, "I must have bought it. It was so cheap. I must have bought it." Turns out, no. As I'm going through all my collection now, don't have it. Um, but it's just things like that. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Um, yeah, Penelope Spheres is The Boys Next Door. If I had to recommend a Severin release for people to get, that's one that's really, really good. Even if it's just the Blu-ray, I'm very, very curious what the 4K is going to look like because it doesn't say. Oh, it says now scanned in 4K from the original camera negative. Okay, so they are doing a new like scan of it and stuff. Let's see. Number 14 is House on the Edge of the Park, which I know they've released before. This was announced yesterday. Let's see. UHD Upgrade Sunday, Severin Summer Sale, title reveal number 14. House on the Edge of the Park, North American UHD premiere. For his follow-up to Cannibal Holocaust, director Ruggiero Deodato delivered a shocker packed with even more cruelty and controversy. Don't know how that's possible. Don't know how that's possible. After Cannibal Holocaust. 40 plus years later, it remains one of the most disturbing exploitation films of all time. Now in UHD. Jeepers. Pulling no punches here, Severin. David Hess of The Last House on the Left infamy stars as a charismatic psychopath who with his equally unhinged sidekick turns a get-together of chic New Yorkers into an ordeal of class warfare and sexual violence. Yeah, it's from the screenwriter of The New York Ripper, so you kind of get it here. Let's see, audio commentary by Bruce Holchek from Cinema Arcana and Art Edinger from Ultraviolent. The Blu-ray has audio commentary by Bruce Holchek, actually, the same commentary I just mentioned. The Man Who Loved Women interview with director Ruggiero Deodato. Lights On interview with cinematographer Sergio Dolfizzi. Like a Prairie Dog interview with actor Giovanni Lombardo Reyes. External Beauty and Internal Ugliness archival interview with David Hess. And then House Sweet House interview with set designer Antonelli Gelong. And that is it for Severin. So that's 14 titles that they are releasing during their Severin Summer Sale, which is taking place July 25th through July 28th, which is this Friday, this upcoming weekend, if you are listening now. If you're listening in the future and it's over, hopefully you got some good stuff. I'll obviously take a look and see what they've got because can't help myself. Can't help myself. So let's move on from Severin. Let's move over to Imprint. Yeah, let's move over to Imprint because they've got 3 box sets, actually. I'm going to go through these. I say it, I'm going to go through them quickly, and I don't, but I really, really do because I don't want to wear myself out before we get to Criterion because there's always good stuff to say about Criterion. So, Imprint has announced their September releases. Yes, their September releases, September of 2025, and they are releasing 3 Tales of Adventure sets. They are releasing collection number 7, collection number 8, and collection number 9. Now, give me a moment here. I'm gonna get the one I do have. Okay. So I've got their first collection, which is collection number 1. Obviously, it's got Arabian Nights, Desert Hawk, 1001 Nights, Zarak, and Omar Khayyam. And these are sets, and this is a set of, you can kind of tell by the theme, of like Middle Eastern folklore, mythological type of stuff. In that vein. And each set kind of has a theme. If you're not familiar with these sets, or if you are familiar with these sets, you already know what I'm saying. Each set kind of has like a bit of a theme of the movies. Like I think the second set was all like jungle adventure films. There's one set that's all like atomic age sci-fi movies and whatnot, like B movies from like the 50s, which is pretty cool. I do like that stuff. But these sets here also have certain themes to them too. Let's see what they are, and hopefully I can kind of figure them out because they don't really see. Hopefully they say it. Let's see. Ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum. Nice that they gave these a nice. So, the Tales of Adventure Collection 7, it says, hop on the magic carpet and go for a ride with the next installment of Tales of Adventure. And this actually only has 3 movies. This has 3 versions of The Thief of Baghdad. The Thief of Baghdad was made in 1924, 1940, and 1961. I think I've only ever seen the one from 1940. Yes, yeah, the one from 1924 is directed by Raoul Walsh, which I still to this day still need to get. There's actually I think there's a Cohen Media Group Blu-ray of this movie. Actually, let me look that up right now. Let me put this down. Let's see, Thief of Baghdad. Because I when I was a younger collector, I didn't realize that there was 3. Hmm. Hold on. Here it is. I was misspelling Baghdad. Sorry. So yeah, the 1924 version does have a Blu-ray release from Cohen Media Group here in the U.S. Yeah, the 1924 one seems to be the one that gets the most love for the most part. Perhaps not, but it looks like the 1960 one doesn't seem to get much love. Yeah. So let me read a little bit of this here. The dazzling Arabian Nights adventure set in the city of Baghdad follows the dashing Ahmad, the thief who wins a princess. They don't really give you any type of. I'll say they don't. The synopsis here is pretty thin, but the 1924 edition has an audio commentary by Douglas Fairbanks' biographer Jeffrey Vance. I forgot this one has Douglas Fairbanks. New video essay on Raoul Walsh by film writer and author Martin Contario. Fairbanks and Fantasy: The Thief of Baghdad featurette. I'm not going to go through every single one of these, but I'll just say this. Yeah, Thief of Baghdad, 1940. This is the one I see, produced by legend Alexandra Corder, brings the tale into Technicolor with three-time Academy Award-winning film starring Sabu, Conrad Veidt, and June Duprez. Let's see. And then the 1960, the one from 1961, director Arthur Lubin, who did Phantom of the Opera, helmed the 60s Italian take on the classic story starring iconic actor and bodybuilder Steve Reeves, who was Hercules. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm not going to go through all the special features on these just because I'll be here forever because some of these sets have a lot. So you got the 3 Thief of Baghdad films in collection number 7. And then you've got collection number 8. So I guess you could say collection 7. I don't know if there's a particular theme there other than the triple feature of the same movie just made 3 different times. Now, collection number 8 is more of a defined collection here. From the dark depths of the sea to the dazzling heights of outer space, the 6-disc collection from the Tales of Adventure series travels to every corner of the globe and beyond. In this, you've got 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea from 1916. That's a silent movie. Master of the World. This is the one starring Vincent Price. And then you've got Valley of the Dragons, which is loosely based on a Jules Verne sci-fi novel. War Gods of the Deep, which also has Vincent Price in it, and Tab Hunter. Tab Hunter is actually kind of the lead of this movie, not Vincent Price. Jules Verne's Rocket to the Moon, It's obviously based on Jules Verne work. Light at the Edge of the World. It's also based on a Jules Verne book called The Lighthouse at the End of the World. Huh? Big old shocker there. Yeah, so these are all. I think these are all based off of works of Jules Verne. Jules Verne, of course, the famous author. He wrote 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Um, actually, I have to let's see. Jules Verne, French novelist and poet. Me. He has an IMDb page, which is fascinating to me, considering he died in 1905. So does William Shakespeare, by the way. William Shakespeare has a IMDb page. Why can't I? There it is. Jules Verne bibliography. Okay, these are all in French, so this is not helpful to me. But anywho, Jules Verne, the famous author, a lot of his work was adapted into stories, similar to kind of like how H.G. Wells's work was adapted into various movies and whatnot too. Um, yeah, so I got to see what did I watch of these? Just to give a little. So, Master of the World, I've seen because I'm a big Vincent Price fan. That's worth watching just for Vincent Price. Anything Vincent Price stars in, I would say is worth a watch. But you gotta, I guess, you gotta make sure that he's in the movie a lot. For example, War Gods of the Deep, he's not in the movie a lot. He plays like this bad guy, like pirate captain, who is like hiding out in this Atlantis place, and he's not in the movie a lot. It's mostly Tab Hunter doing stuff, which is fine. Tab Hunter's great. I love Tab Hunter, but Vincent Price's name, I think it's like first in the credits when you watch the movie, and I'm like, oh, awesome, Vincent Price. Not in the movie that much, but he's playing his usual the bad guy self, which is awesome to see. Uh, yeah, and in this movie, War Gods of the Deep, Tab Hunter, I forgot what he is. Um, so yeah, it's actually hold on, it's Jacques Tourneur's last film. Jacques Tourneur, who is a great filmmaker. He directed like kind of some classic like Cat People, and he directed um Out of the Past. Pretty sure that was Jacques Tourneur as well. I Walked with a Zombie. Um, Great director, and his last movie is this movie. It was also retitled City in the Sea to give it the title of an Edgar Allan Poe story, because during the time of the 60s when this came out in 1965, Vincent Price was doing a lot of Edgar Allan Poe adaptations with Roger Corman over at AIP, American International Pictures, and those were super popular. So they were like, okay, let's retitle it an Edgar Allan Poe story, and people will think it's Vincent Price doing Edgar Allan Poe again, and it's not. But they tried to trick people to go see this movie, thinking it was Vincent Price doing Edgar Allan Poe. And it's not. But this is Jacques Tourneur's last directed movie, and it's not very good, unfortunately. It's not that it's unwatchable. If anything, of all of the movies that I kind of saw in these box sets, this is one of the okay ones. A lot of it is to do with Vincent Price. That man, it didn't matter what quality of movie he was in during his career, he gave it 110%. And he would just chew up the scene like you wouldn't believe. And yeah, so in 1903 Cornwall, a group of locals discover an underwater city dating back to 1803 that hides a society of smugglers and aquatic creatures. That's what happens. Tab Hunter, he goes to like this tavern to investigate a body washes up at sea. So he goes to like this local tavern to kind of investigate what's going on. He ends up getting involved tangentially romantically with I think the tavern keeper's daughter, and she ends up getting captured by like a sea creature, and he ends up like going after her, and he ends up going down to like the basement catacombs of this tavern, and lo and behold, there happens to be an entrance to this underwater Atlantis place that these smugglers have been stuck in for a century, and their captain is Vincent Price, and he like some of his men want to leave, some of his men don't want to leave, but if they do leave, they're all going to die because they haven't seen the sun in a century, and they also haven't aged either for some mystical reason. The movie is wild, but it's a Jules Verne story, so it makes sense. Jules Verne was doing kind of these fantasy sci-fi stories in the 19th century. That was when he was around. Uh, yeah, uh, I'm saying a lot about a movie that I don't really like, but I got a lot to. You always end up having to say a lot more about stuff you don't like versus when you that you do like sometimes. But yeah, that is box set number 8. Uh, cool, interesting, cool stuff, but just not great stuff. I am fascinated about 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea from 1916. Because that's got to be in the public domain by this point. So I'm curious what the quality of this release is. It says 1080p high definition presentation of a 4K restoration from a 35 millimeter nitrate print by Universal Pictures. Okay, so that does say a lot. That does say a lot. This is coming out in September. Yeah, Tales of Adventure Collections 8, which has what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 movies. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Master of the World, Valley of the Dragons, um, War Gods of the Deep, Jules Verne's Rocket to the Moon, Light at the Edge of the World. Jules Verne's Rocket to the Moon, I did also get to see. Also not really good. These like these scientists, I don't even know if they're scientists, but anywho, they're trying to figure out a way to get to the moon, and they're gonna launch a rocket from like the side of a mountain. And it's a British comedy with British humor, and like they're trying to find funding to do this experiment slash like publicity stunt thing. Um, and they're having trouble with that. They're having trouble with logistics. They're having trouble building it. It's a madcap movie that's kind of all over the place. Some funny parts, some not so funny parts. It's not really that good. Um, but let's move on. Let's move on. Tales of Adventure collection number 9. This has a few movies as well, obviously. The Tales of Adventure collection takes you on 4 British-produced adventures of fantasy and sci-fi, all starring the king of the B-movie, Doug McClure, and all directed by Kevin Connor, who directed Motel Hell. Uncover mysteries, lands, and navigate treacherous foes with these 4 fantastical pictures. So we've got The Land That Time Forgot from 1974, At the Earth's Core, The People That Time Forgot, and Warlords of Atlantis. So The Land That Time Forgot is probably the most well-known of these, I feel. It's based on the 1918 novel of the same name by Edgar Rice Burroughs. I think these are all based on Edgar Rice Burroughs novels, to be quite honest with you. He sees a team of British and German naval officers working together, stranded in a world of prehistoric beasts. So The Land That Time Forgot is kind of like, you know how King Kong, when you go to like Skull Island, or you go to that island where King Kong is at, which is known as Skull Island, and there's like dinosaurs roaming around. It's a different place. It feels like you're in a different time period. That's kind of like The Land That Time Forgot. That's kind of like that. But the island is called Caprona, a lost world where they find dinosaurs and Neanderthals. Okay? And then you've got At the Earth's Core. So legendary actors Doug McClure, Peter Cushing, and Carolyn Monroe drilled down below in At the Earth's Core based on the 1940 novel of the same name, Edgar Rice Burroughs once again. The huge burrowing machine tunnels out of control at ferocious speed, cutting clean through the center of the Earth to the twilight world of Pellucidar. Once there, Dr. Perry and David Innes are threatened by half-human creatures, lizard-like birds, man-eating plants, and mind-controlling Martyrs. So it's playing on the idea of kind of like Journey to the Center of the Earth. It's playing on that idea. Journey to the Center of the Earth, where you go, you dig down deep enough, and apparently there's this hollow Earth theory, where there's other worlds below the Earth's surface, and this movie's playing on that idea too. Let's see. Some comments here. I talk about this already? Let's see. Comments here. Rest in peace, Jimmy Hunt, the kid from Invaders from Mars. Wow, okay. Rest in peace. The OG Invaders. And then Adam Schofield said those things, and then Adam Schofield also says, "I'd like the Adventures Box 9, watched all those movies when I was a kid and loved them all." I will say this, this box set out of the 3 is probably the one that's most enticing, even though the other box set does have 2 Vincent Price movies, but to be honest, one of them, which is Master of the World, already has a Blu-ray release from Kino, so people probably may already have that. Also, I think it's in one of the Vincent Price collection Blu-ray box sets uh, from Shout Factory as well. I think maybe in the second or third one, actually. Oh. And then the other one is like not really worth kind of getting. But this third book, this third box set, collections number 9, does have all these Edgar Rice Burroughs adaptations, which is fascinating to me personally. Um, yeah, at the Earth's core, like I just said, and all of these have various special features that I'm just not going into right now. Like each of them have audio commentaries. Each of them have a new interview of some kind, archival interview. And then you have the people that time forgot. Following the events of the land that time forgot, the people that time forgot continues the journey into the mythical land of Caprona. So this is a direct sequel to the land that time forgot. That's what this is. What happens is, um, actually, I'll tell you right now. Major Ben McBride organizes a mission to the Antarctic wastes to search for his friend who has been missing in the region for several years. McBride's party finds themselves in a world populated by primitive warriors and terrifying prehistoric creatures, all of whom they must evade in order to get back to safety. So the person that he's going after to find is like the main character from the land that time forgot. So he's going to find his friend, and he ends up in the same world that his friend was in. There you go. Sequel. And then you have Warlords of Atlantis. Searching for the lost world of Atlantis, Professor Aiken, his son Charles, and Greg Collinson are betrayed by the crew of their expedition ship. Attracted by the fabulous treasures of Atlantis, the diving bell disabled, a deep sea monster attacks the boat. They are all dragged to the bottom of the sea where they meet the inhabitants of the lost continent, an advanced alien race that makes sailors their slaves. There you go. These are all directed by Kevin Connor. Um, these all have, like I said, these all have audio commentaries. These all have a new interview, at least one, and then maybe some archival interviews too. So that is Tales of Adventure Collection number 9, 1974 through 1978. This is imprint collection release number 471 through 474. That's a lot of releases. That's a lot of releases. So that is it for their September releases. And they are Tales of Adventure Collection number 7, Tales of Adventure Collection number 8, and Tales of Adventure Collection number 9. So I got through that a lot faster than I thought, because watching these movies was not easy. I'll be honest with you all. These movies are not particularly great, and not like there's not like events and things happening in them. It's just it's a different style of filmmaking. It's a different style of movie making. It's a different style of action and adventure. Keep in mind, some of these movies came out, you know, right around the time of Star Wars. And Star Wars would be so much ahead of its time in terms of adventure and special effects and action and all that kind of stuff, that I can kind of tell why these movies were kind of left in the dust a little bit after that. I always say this, and I don't mean to overstate this. I don't mean to kind of toot Star Wars horn, because Star Wars doesn't need me to do it. There's a before Star Wars and there's an after Star Wars when it comes to fantasy, space, adventure, action movies. It really changed the game entirely. And you can kind of tell watching contemporary movies of that time and then watching Star Wars. It's so different. It really, really is. So that is kind of it for all of um the main companies we talk about here on Chasing Labels in terms of boutique labels, other than Criterion, which we're going to talk about at the end here. We've talked about Warner Archive, we talked about Radiance, we talked about Kino, we've talked about Severin, and we've talked about Imprint. Now, there are a couple of individual releases that I want to talk about before we dive into the Criterion announcements. Our friends, well, we don't really have friends at Eureka, but I hope Eureka is a friend of ours. Eureka is putting out Martyrs. Um, yeah, they're putting out a 4K of Martyrs, through their Masters of Cinema line in October 27th. And I was talking with Steven last night about this, and I'm like, this is a little bit out of the realm of what Eureka typically does. But hey, you can do whatever you want if you have a company. Um, so Martyrs is, like I mentioned earlier, it's the one of the most, if not the famous French extreme horror subgenre movies of the 2000s. It's the one that I always reference when I'm talking about the French extreme, when I'm talking about really like like um violent and hard to watch horror movies. I talk about Martyrs, talk about High Tension, talk about some other films, but this is the one. And yeah, so this is getting a 4K UHD release. It's already gotten a Blu-ray release from various companies. I've got one in my collection from Umbrella. It's over there somewhere. Actually, it's right there. I have it right over there. And yeah, so this is I'm not going to talk about the plot of this movie because this movie you need to experience yourself knowing as little as possible. Really, you really need to. So I'm not even going to talk about the plot. Let's just go down to the special features. So 2 disc set, 4K Blu-ray and Blu-ray combo pack, exclusive new 4K restoration. Okay, of from the original camera negative by Eureka Entertainment themselves. Okay. Okay. I'm assuming this is not going to be the only 4K of this movie. I think this movie is way too popular amongst horror fans and collectors to not get another 4K release from somebody else. So we'll wait on that. Dolby Vision HDR presentation of the film, new audio commentary by Nia Edwards Behe, co-director of Abertoir Horror Film Festival, revisiting the Belford House interview with lead actor Mylene Champon. Boy, I can't pronounce it. Champenoy. Beauty and Brutality interview with New French Extremity expert Alice Haylett Bryan. Over her oh boy. Video essay on martyrs and body horror by Javier Aldana Reyes, author of contemporary body horror. Organic Chronicles, archival feature-length documentary on the making of Martyrs, archival interview with director Pascal Laugier, archival interview with special effects designer Benoit Lastang, stills gallery trailers, all that stuff. There's a limited edition 100-page book featuring new cover art by Nick Charge and writing on the Martyrs by film critic Anton Bittel and horror scholars Reese Goodall, Steve Jones, Mary Going, and Laura Mee. Limited edition fold-out poster featuring new artwork and original poster art as well. I can understand that. There is a so this is probably a big release for a lot of people. Coming out October 27th. I would assume, actually, I'll check it right now. I would assume the 4K is region free and the Blu-ray is region B locked. Yes. Typically, Eureka releases, their Blu-rays are region B locked, although Eureka does have an American US region A branch now. So, yeah, it's interesting. So some of their stuff is region A. Let's see. What are some other individual releases that I want to talk about? So Film Masters had a bunch of releases. Let me go over to our cats over at Film Masters. So they're putting a couple of movies on Blu-ray. Film Masters. Let's see, Invasion USA. So this is coming out August 26th. It's called Invasion USA plus Rocket Attack USA as well. So it's a double feature. It's a double feature special edition. Wow. It's got a new 4K restoration of Invasion USA and a new 4K restoration of Rocket Attack USA. Let's see. The Invasion USA is from an original 35mm archival elements. Rocket Attack is from the original 16mm archival elements. There's a new audio commentary by Professor Jason A. Ney, essay by historian Toby Rohn, audio commentary by film historian C. Courtney Joyner and Mark Jordan Legan for Rocket Attack, Essay by author Don Stradley for Rocket Attack USA. Ballyhoo Motion Pictures presents Better Dead Than Red, Hollywood versus Communism in the 50s. Featurette with Anthony Moore, son of star Gerard Moore. Uh, there's a Mystery Science Theater episode featuring Rocket Attack. And then a recut trailers of both films using restored elements. I didn't know this was such a deluxe release. Let's see. They're both Cold War era, like Red Scare type movies. So, a double feature of the Cold War era, Invasion USA follows a group of Americans who have gathered at a New York bar when they discover that their country is under Soviet invasion and what could be their last moments on Earth. Each return to their respective lives and reconsider what is truly important to them. Oh, its companion feature, Rocket Attack, takes place deep within enemy territory. American secret agent John Manston infiltrates the Soviet Union and learns they are launching a surprise attack on the USA via an intercontinental ballistic missile. What follows is a race against time to warn the US government. Oh, okay. That's what those two movies are about. And this release is coming August 26th. And it's got like I said, got a bunch of special features. Very cool. Let me see what else we got. I know they are also releasing. What are the other ones I have on my list? I think Strange Woman. Okay. Okay, I did not spell Strange Woman. This is getting one of their kind of deluxe releases too. Let's see. Oh, there's no. Okay. See if there's any news. Oh, there are some news. Oh, this is an Edgar G. Ulmer film. This is coming out in September. So it's starring Hedy Lamarr, George Sanders, Lewis Hayward. There's a commentary by Bernard M. Prokop. This period piece set in 1820s Maine follows the exploits of Jenny Hager, Hedy Lamarr, a woman who sees nothing wrong with preying on men for their money. With a cast that includes George Sanders, Lewis Hayward, Gene Lockhart, and Reese Williams, cult director Edgar G. Ulmer weaves a tale of intrigue and seduction. Also look for Alan Napier, best known for his role as Alfred on the classic Batman TV series. Awesome. Yeah, this is a limit. This is one of the limited edition releases from Film Masters. Let's see. Now, I was just looking at some of the other limited editions. So cool. And then I think Tarzan of the Apes is another one I wanted to mention. This is the film from 1918. It's getting a 2K restoration coming out in September as well. Let's see if I can find any information on it. No, I can't, unfortunately. Let me just see if I can check. Let's see. Tarzan first swung from the trees in Tarzan of the Apes in 1918, with the brawny Elmo Lincoln in the title role, with various Louisiana locations serving as jungle backdrop. Director Scott Sidney told the traditional tale of how the orphaned heir to the Greystoke fortune became Lord of the Jungle, billed in the old adverts as the most startling and unforgettable story ever written. The plot involves a search for the missing Greystoke, led by Dr. Porter, which finds Tarzan in the middle of a brutal vendetta. It appears Tarzan is out to avenge the killing of Kala, the ape who raised him. Soon everyone learns it's not wise to make Tarzan angry. Includes the bonus feature, The Adventures of Tarzan from 1928. What's interesting is just looking up this movie is that there has been so much Tarzan stuff created over the last century, going all the way back to 1918. If you just look up Tarzan on IMDb, I guarantee you're going to find dozens of movies. They just kept making Tarzan movies like every couple of years for decades. I don't know what was the fascination behind all of it, but they just kept making it over and over again. Obviously, if you are young enough like myself, or if you are part of my generation, you remember the Disney's Tarzan. You remember that with the Phil Collins music. Still to this day, so iconic and so great. A couple of years ago, they tried to do another Tarzan movie with, I believe it was Alexandra Skarsgård. They tried to do another Tarzan movie. And I don't know why. They just keep going back to that Tarzan well. Yeah, it was called Legend of Tarzan. with Alexander Skarsgård. It was directed by David Yates, who directed what, like most of the Harry Potter movies. Who else was in that movie? Wasn't It was Alexander Skarsgård. It was Christoph Waltz, Margot Robbie, Samuel L. Jackson. Um, yeah, I remember there was one with Christopher Lambert in the 90s. They just kept doing this, going back to that well over and over again. So this modern day idea of franchise building, or just going back to the um the same franchise well over and over again. If you're sick of the Marvel movies, you're sick of the comic book movies, you're sick of the fact that they keep making Jurassic Park movies over and over again, or they keep making, I don't know, whatever movies, Fast and Furious. They were doing this for decades. This is nothing new for Hollywood at all. Hollywood franchise milking has been around forever and ever and ever. Remakes, reboots, just doing the same movies, going back to the same characters. All of this stuff has been happening forever throughout the history of movies. But that is it for what's their name? That is it for Film Masters. They're putting out Invasion USA plus Rocket Attack as a double feature. The Strange Woman is getting a limited edition release, and they're also doing Tarzan of the Apes. Oh, they're also doing this movie called Patterns. I forgot to talk about this movie. Okay, Patterns, starring Van Heflin. Good movie. Let's see, Patterns from 1956. Let's see. Here it is. It got a release a few years ago by a company called Film Detective. No, don't even pretend it doesn't exist. Because that was one of those companies that I don't think they didn't really had any means to really do anything great. But this is different. Film Masters is giving Patterns a 2K restoration. So the newest executive in a large firm. Where are you? Hold on. Yeah, the newest executive in a large firm, Fred Staples, becomes friendly with the vice president to whom he reports and who has devoted his entire life to the company. But Staples finds his ethics at odds with his ambition when the CEO reveals that he's been recruited to replace his new friend. So it's Van Heflin, Everett Sloan, Ed Begley, Beatrice Straight, So Van Heflin gets hired in this job, and Ed Begley, I believe, is the VP who's been at this company for like 30 years. And basically, Van Heflin was brought in to replace Ed Begley. And once Van Heflin finds that out, he feels incredibly guilty because he's become friends with the Ed Begley character. And the Ed Begley and the person who's running the company, who's portrayed by Everett Sloan, is an asshole. This guy is a jerk. He is a brutal like businessman. Like, he just cares about the company. He doesn't give a shit about people's feelings or people's livelihoods or people's life at all. They are just cogs in a machine to this guy. He's got to keep this company profitable. He's got to keep it going. And I think they may be like, yeah. Anywho, he's just a shrewd guy, and he's trying to push out the Ed Begley character because he wants somebody new and fresh to take over for him. This movie's based on a stage play, and I believe like Ed Begley and Everett Sloan reprising their characters from the stage play. Really good dialogue. Obviously, it's a little stagey because it's based off of a stage play, but I thought this movie is really good. It's called Patterns, starring Van Heflin. Yeah, definitely give this a watch if you haven't already, and be on the lookout for when this Blu-ray comes out in August 19th. It's coming out August 19th. Let me see if there's I don't have any info on it right this second. I would have to go to the Film Masters website. Let's see. Let's see. See if I can search on the Film Masters website. No, they don't even have it on their website yet. Okay. Because I don't even know if they've officially announced it yet. I just saw it kind of people talking about it. But after this, there's 2 releases, then Criterion. So our friends over at Deaf Crocodile. Let me go over to Deaf Crocodile. They are putting out another animation box set. They are putting out, I believe. Well, let's see, where are you? Oh yes, Treasures of Soviet Animation Volume 2. I believe we talked about Volume 1 when it was announced, and now Volume 2 is coming. When is this coming out? Ba-ba-ba-bum. Just says pre-order. Oh, it says this pre-order item, it will ship at the end of September. Okay, so end of September. So this limited deluxe edition to 2,000 units. This is the second volume in a series of new restorations of classic and rare Soviet animated gems from the vaults of the legendary, I cannot pronounce that studio, focused on Soviet um, Soviet Armenian director Lev Atamanov. These are all films from Lev Atamanov. Atamanov was a brilliant creative artist whose lyrical storytelling and stunning imagery put him on par with masters such as Walt Disney and Hayao Miyazaki, who praised The Snow Queen as my destiny and my favorite film. Okay, the big one here. That's the biggest thing here. The first movie in this box set is The Snow Queen from 1957. This is apparently one of Hayao Miyazaki's biggest inspirations for wanting to get into animation. If you know who Hayao Miyazaki is, he is a legendary master of animation. His Japanese animated films are some of the greatest you'll ever see. Point blank. Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, My Neighbor Totoro, even his recent film The Boy and the Heron. Um, um, so many. I've got so many of them on my shelf. I've got all of his work, at least as much of his work as I possibly can get. He's an absolute legend. So for this movie to be that big of an inspiration for him, it's worth a watch. It is worth a watch. It's worth watching. Um, yeah, it's and after seeing the movie and with that context in mind of like this inspired Hayao Miyazaki, you can tell. You can definitely tell. Like there's certain tones, certain flavors, certain visuals, certain feelings, certain things that are going on in it where you can tell like, oh, this is like Studio Ghibli before Studio Ghibli. You know what I mean? And it's really, really good. And that's the only one I got to see. And I had to watch it in an English dub because there was an English dub of it um on Tubi of all places. So I saw it there, and I definitely want to see it in its original language. So this release is definitely circling around for me in terms of something I really want to get. The other 2 films in here, The Scarlet Flower from 1952 and The Key from 1961. Now, all of these are The Snow Queen is 65 minutes long. The Scarlet Flower is 42 minutes long, and The Key is 58 minutes long. So relatively short feature length films. Well, 42 minutes is not really feature length, but 58 minutes is borderline. For special features, we have Written with Ice Crystals, Master Soviet animator Lev Atamanov, and The Snow Queen. New video essay by film historian Evan Chester. Innocence and Cynicism, The Snow Queen and Hayao Miyazaki. New video essay by animation expert John Atkins of Animation Obsessive. New commentary tracks by film historian Rolf Giesen. New artwork by Beth Morris. Blu-ray authoring by David Mackenzie of Fidelity in Motion. Deluxe edition bonus content, slipcase with cool artwork, 60-page illustrated book. New essay by film historian Rolf Giesen and new essay by film critic Walter Chaw. Yeah, so I'm definitely interested in this and the first volume as well. So that is it from Deaf Crocodile. That is Treasures of the Soviet Animation Volume 2, Deluxe Edition, and the Standard Edition is there as well. It's a little cheaper, a little less sprills, but I like the Deluxe Limited Edition stuff. That's coming at the end of September. Now, Battleship Potemkin is getting a BFI release. Battleship Potemkin is one of the greatest movies of all time. Battleship Potemkin is certainly film school 101 stuff. Like this is stuff you've got to watch at least once if you want to consider yourself a cinephile with a capital C. Yeah, it's the 100th anniversary of this movie coming up. Um, so the British Film Institute has detailed its upcoming Blu-ray release of Sergei Eisenstein's Battleship Potemkin from 1925. Uh, yeah, I'm not even going to say what the movie's about. It's about an important moment in Russian history. Um, let's see. Yeah, it's directed by Sergei Eisenstein. Um, it's getting a new restoration of the film by Deutsche Kinematik. Pet Shop Boys soundtrack on CD. There's a 68-minute multimedia musical production by the Dresdner Sinfoniker Orchestra and Pet Shop Boys, conceived by Marcus Rend and directed by Sven Helbig on the evening of July 20, 2006 in Dresden. Trafalgar Square highlights from 2004, a behind-the-scenes film when Pet Shop Boys performed their newly composed score for Battleship Potemkin, and then a trailer. So not much in the way of special features. Well, for a movie that's essentially a 100-year anniversary release, not a lot going on here. Other than a new restoration of the film, which I guess is the most important part. It really is. This movie is that important to cinema history. It's that important to cultural history. It's truly, definitely worth a watch. It's a silent film, obviously. So if you're not really into silent film, it perhaps not won't be for you. This is coming out September 5th. The release is scheduled to arrive on the market September 5th. So that is the Battleship Potemkin from the BFI. For some reason, I thought it was getting a 4K release. I guess not. But let's move on to people who are actually giving us 4K releases, and that is Criterion. So we've got their October releases, and they are pretty good, I will say. Let's get into them, shall we? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 releases. Couple of upgrades here, a couple of new things. Let's get into it, shall we? Deep Crimson, Nightmare Alley, Altered States, A History of Violence, The Shrouds, Eyes Without a Face, and Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. Alrighty, so let's dive in, shall we? Let's start with Deep Crimson, because that was the movie I was probably the least familiar with. And this is Arturo Ripstein directed film, one of the peaks of subversive Mexican director Arturo Ripstein's Cinema of Outsiders. This deliriously perverse portrait of obsessive love dares audiences to see the humanity in the most sordid antiheroes. A Lonely Hearts advertisement leads the lusty nurse Coral, a con man to Nicholas, a con man whom forges an increasingly intense, twisted bond as they crisscross 1940s Mexico, robbing and murdering the women he seduces. Blending sweeping melodrama with macabre humor and eruption of berserk violence, Ripstein transformed one of the most infamous true crime stories of the 20th century into a haunting vision of how love can give way to madness. So, this movie is a Mexican cinema adaptation of The Honeymoon Killers. The Honeymoon Killers, of course, is that movie based on the real life story. The Criterion's put it out on Blu-ray. Actually, they put it out on DVD. They put it out on Blu-ray. So that is essentially this movie, and it's a dark, twisted, messed up relationship movie, love story, violent. Yeah, it's pretty messed up. It's in the same vein as Honeymoon Killers, as natural. It's actually a lot closer to Natural Born Killers than it is to I would say um the Warren Beatty film. Why can't I remember the Warren Beatty film? Let's see. Bum. Put let's see. Why am I completely blanking here? Bonnie and Clyde. I When you do this for 3 hours straight, your mind just completely falls apart. Bonnie and Clyde. So it's a lot closer to Natural Born Killers in tone and disturbing tone, and just like you absolutely hate these people than Bonnie and Clyde. I feel like you like Bonnie and Clyde way more than you're supposed to, I guess. Like they're like robbing banks and stuff. These people, these honeymoon killers, or the people in Crimson, Dark Crimson, are just like they're murdering people. Like they're bad people, and I don't know why they call them anti-heroes. They're villains. They are villains. I hated these people in this, but it's an interesting, dark, psychological look at people you're not supposed to like. There's a lot of psychological stuff going on here too. But let's see what we got here for special features. So this is getting a 4K UHD release and Blu-ray release. So we've got a 4K disc, of course. Let's see, it's coming with no 4K. It says new 4K digital restoration of the director's cut, supervised and approved by director Arturo Ripstein, with 2.0 surround DTS HD master audio, one 4K UHD disc of the movie, and one with the Blu-ray of the film and special features. Okay, so no Dolby Vision. All right, new interviews with Ripstein and screenwriter Paz Alicia Garcia Diego. Panel discussion from the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences featuring Ripstein and Garcia Diego, hosted by film scholar Cristina Venegas. All right. Plus an essay by film scholar Hayden Guest. Next, we've got one of the nicest surprises. I wasn't quite expecting this, but perhaps I should have been, since they've been releasing the other films of this director, and this is Guillermo del Toro's Nightmare Alley. Now, this is the one that came out a couple of years ago, 2021. So this is a recent release. I wasn't expecting this. It's been, what, 4 years since this movie came out? And this is his version of the story of Nightmare Alley. Noir fatalism has rarely been so alluring in this vision of the world as a soul-sick carnival of corruption, putting his own luxuriously stylized spin on the classic hard-boiled novel by William Lindsay Gresham. So it's his adaptation version of the novel. Master fabulist Guillermo del Toro conjures a sordid, seductive portrait of America on the cusp of World War II. The film follows Stan Carlisle, Bradley Cooper, a roustabout in a traveling sideshow who uses charm and deception to become a phony mentalist preying on the rich and powerful. But at what cost? Brought to life by an all-star cast that includes Cate Blanchett, Toni Collette, Willem Dafoe, and Rooney Mara, and nominated for 4 Oscars, including Best Picture, Nightmare Alley is a haunting descent into the illusory abyss of the American dream. Now, I really like this movie. Now, the original is a classic, in my opinion. The original is great. Now, this remake, of course, has the cachet of Guillermo del Toro. Guillermo del Toro, his movies are visually sumptuous feasts. Like, his movies are gorgeous. His set design, production design, his imagery, amazing. Just great. And he brought that to this. And he brings that to a lot of his movies. Like, I rewatched Crimson Peak recently. That's a beautiful, stunningly visual movie. And yeah, he's a great visual director. He's really good. He's one of my favorites. I love him. He's an all-time cinephile too, and collector and whatnot. So he's kind of one of us, really. And this movie, I really liked. I really, really liked. Like I said, I didn't think it would get a Criterion release, at least not this fast. At least not this fast. Let me check the special features for the original release that was put out by, I want to say, Disney, because by that point Disney had bought Fox. And let's see. Yeah, so this was a Disney Buena Vista release originally, which is shocking to me that they would then license this out to Criterion. I didn't see that coming, and I believe it's part of 20th Century Studios or 20th Century Searchlight, so it's not technically a Disney production. It's under the Disney umbrella, though. You know what I mean? Perhaps that's why. Perhaps that's why. Let's see, and this is the first. I want to say I'm gonna go look this up because this is gonna bother the hell out of me if I don't look this up. I want to say this is the first of these Fox Searchlight or whatnot. Let's see. Nightmare Alley. I want to see who the production company was. I want to see who the distributor was. Let me see. So produced by production company, blah, blah, blah. So, distributed by Searchlight Pictures. Okay. So, Searchlight Pictures, since they've since they were taken over by Disney, I don't believe any of their movies have gotten 4K releases. I think they've only gotten, um, let's see, Searchlight. Yeah, I don't think they typically do not get, since they've been taken over, I should say that. Because now that I'm looking here, hold on. When did Disney take? Does anybody know when Disney took over? I want to say 2020. Let's see. Yeah, I want to say 2020 was when Disney took over. Yeah, so as Searchlight Pictures, 2020, I'm looking at movies like, I mean, Nomadland only has a Blu-ray release. I'm looking at movies, the French. Well, what's interesting is that the Wes Anderson stuff is now finally getting a 4K release. Um, yeah, let's see, The Banshees of Inisherin only a Blu-ray release. Yeah, these are all basically All of Us Strangers. Okay, got a 4K release. So my theory is thrown out the window, kind of. But for the most part, these movies only get Blu-ray releases if they do get Blu-ray releases. Um, but Nightmare Alley, I'm so happy is getting a Blu-ray release, a 4K release. But let me see what they have for special features on the original release so we can compare it to this release. Okay, the original release. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so oh boy, not much better. So the original Blu-ray release from Disney of Guillermo del Toro's Nightmare Alley had 3 special features. It had Del Toro's neo-noir, Beneath the Tarp, What Exists in the Fringe. All right. Now let's go over to here. So, I don't think those carry over. Hold on now. So, for special features, 4K digital master of Nightmare Alley, Vision in Darkness and Light, a new 159-minute black and white extended director's cut. So there's a new cut of the movie on here too. Supervised by director Guillermo del Toro. The 4K digital master of the theatrical version of the film with Dolby Atmos soundtrack. So you got 2 cuts of the movie. There's 2 4K UHD discs presented in Dolby Vision HDR and 2 Blu-rays with the films and special features. So, new audio commentary on the extended director's cut by Del Toro, new documentary on the film's performances, visual language, costume, and production design and score. New conversation between Del Toro and producer Bradley Cooper. New conversation between Del Toro and co-screener Kim Morgan. So, those special features, I don't think those carry over. Let me move this. Yeah, I don't think they carry over. Although these these special features that they list off description wise on Criterion, they're similar. They cover similar ground. You know what I mean? Like talking about production design and stuff like that. So they looks like they're similar in terms of content. Uh, but maybe not being exact. I just wanted to see what the comparison was. From a studio release to the Criterion release. Obviously, the Criterion release has got more stuff. You know what I mean? More stuff in the sense like we get 2 cuts of the movie, and we're getting a couple of new stuff on here as well. But let's move on from this Nightmare Alley. So now we go to Ken Russell's Altered States. Now this was a nice surprise. This was a very nice surprise. This was a movie I've been wanting to see for many years and finally was able to. So Altered States has gotten a Blu-ray release before. It's gotten a Blu-ray release in 2012 from Warner Brothers. here in Region A land. I think it also got a release in the UK too, which would make sense. It is a UK director, although pretty sure Ken Russell stuff has been banned from the UK. Actually, also put out by Warner Brothers in the UK. So I'm just curious, does this have any special features whatsoever? No. No, it does not. The Altered States Blu-ray from Warner Brothers has the theatrical trailer. So everything here will be a revelation. So if you've not seen the movie Altered States, get ready for a trip. The ultimate cinematic head trip of the 1980s, British renegade Ken Russell's first Hollywood film, adapted by the legendary screenwriter Paddy Chayefsky. Oh boy, that's amazing. From his own novel is part hallucinogenic freakout, part gonzo creature feature, part transcendent love story, all played at a fever pitch when researcher Eddie Jessup, William Hurt, begins using himself as a test subject for his mind expanding psychological experiments. It sends him on an increasingly dangerous substance fueled odyssey from humankind's primordial past to the outer limits of consciousness. It's all visualized by Russell in a psychedelic supernova of out there imagery and encompasses everything from pagan to cosmic sublime, culminating in a brainwave blasting battle between the mind and the heart. Um, yeah, I agree with all that. It's a trip of a movie, but we got to keep in mind it's 1980, so some of the special effects aren't going to be what you would expect from a modern movie, obviously. So some of it's a little dated, but some of it is still incredibly trippy and incredibly good for its time, and practical in some parts, not so practical in other parts. It's the not so practical stuff that I don't think has aged pretty well, but some of the practical stuff I thought was very good. Yeah, it's an interesting movie. But let's see what we got here for special features. New 4K digital restoration with 2.0 surround ATS HD master audio. There's an alternate 5.1 DTS HD master audio if you want that. It's a one 4K disc in Dolby Vision HDR and one Blu-ray with the film and special features. New audio commentary featuring film historian Sam Deegan. That's cool. Archival interview with director Ken Russell and actor William Hurt. They both have passed by now. New interview with special visual effects designer Bran Farron. That's it. I mean, like I said, the Warner Brothers Blu-ray had nothing from 13 years ago, so this is at least something. And you do get the movie in 4K, which is pretty cool. So let's move on from Altered States. Let's move on to this is a long time coming. A History of Violence, David Cronenberg. Here we go. So, A History of Violence is kind of my introduction to David Cronenberg. It was this and it was Eastern Promises. Both on DVD. I've since upgraded to the old Blu-rays now. The History of Violence originally came out on Blu-ray through Warner Brothers in 2009. So it's been about 16 years since this Blu-ray came out. Eastern Promises got a 4K UHD release a couple of years ago by Kino, which I still need to get. But I was wondering, where's the History of Violence? I mean, that was logically the next one to get the upgrade bump. So what have we been doing this whole time? Well, I guess we've been waiting. So, I'm also really not surprised, but I'm also pleasantly surprised that Warner Brothers has licensed this out to Criterion, another one of their catalog titles. That was nice of them, instead of doing it in-house. So the original release did have a couple of special features that were, I believe, carryovers from the DVD. It included all of the special features that had appeared on the 2006 Platinum Series DVD, but all in standard definition. Okay, so there was a director's commentary, Acts of Violence, that was 65 minutes, which is an extensive documentary that about the movie, I believe. The Unmaking of a Scene was kind of I believe a scene breakdown. Yeah, there's a director's commentary on a specific scene. 2 commercial for Cannes, which is a video of Cronenberg's trip to Cannes with the movie. And then there's an all too short featurette that highlights the difference between the domestic and international cuts of the film. So let's see what we ended up getting on this. So if you've never seen A History of Violence, starring Viggo Mortensen, you got to watch this movie. In David Cronenberg's subtly provocative film, one of his most celebrated, all is not as it initially seems. In this first of many collaboration with the director, Viggo Mortensen delivers a highly nuanced performance as Tom Stahl, a small town husband and father who was hailed as a hero. Um, but how did this ordinary family? Yeah, see, yeah, he stops a robbery. He stops a violent robbery, and then but people kind of like question like, how does he know how to do that? He's a small town nobody. Maybe there's more than meets the eye. I'm not saying anything else. The movie stars Maria Bello, Ed Harris, William Hurt. Um, like I said, it was my introduction to David Cronenberg's. And what is interesting is that it's not typically what you would expect a David Cronenberg film to be. There's not really body horror in this movie. Typically, when it came to, if you're thinking of Videodrome, you're thinking of Crash, you're thinking of even his earlier work like The Brood. I mean, this is far and away not those movies visually. Very much more a family drama, if anything. Um, yeah, but I think it's fantastic. It's a great film. So new 4K digital restoration of the international cut, supervised by director of photography Peter Shashinsky and approved by director David Cronenberg. Um, is a 5.1 DTS master audio, probably a carryover from the old Blu-ray. One 4K UH disc of the film, and then there's a Blu-ray with the movie and special features. Audio commentary featuring David Cronenberg. New interview with screenwriter Josh Olson, conducted by writer-producer Tom Bernardo. Excerpts of Cronenberg and actor Viggo Mortensen in conversation at the 2014 Toronto International Film Festival. Acts of Violence, a documentary on the making of the film featuring behind-the-scenes footage. 3 featurettes, deleted scene with commentary by Cronenberg, and then a trailer. So I'm assuming, let's see. Yeah, so Acts of Violence, and then it says 3 featurettes. I'm assuming it's Acts of Violence. It's the carryover from the old Blu-ray, plus 3 featurettes. Could be any one of these 3 featurettes. I don't know. I don't know which ones. But either way, it looks like you do get some carryover from the old Blu-ray, if you do have that still in your collection. So you may not need that old Blu-ray anymore. Not quite sure. But that is A History of Violence. This is a 4K UHD as well. I think I mentioned that. And when is this coming out? Because this is going to be October 21st. This is going to be such a hot seller at the November Barnes & Noble Criterion sale. That this is going to be tough to find. It's going to be tough to find. Next, we have The Shrouds, another David Cronenberg film. This is David Cronenberg's newest film. It's his newest film, which you can watch right now on the Criterion Channel streaming service, which is where I watched it. Long fascinated by the ways that technology is transforming our bodies and minds, David Cronenberg returns with one of his most profoundly personal films, an audacious, elegiac exploration of grief, mortality, and love, wrapped in the guise of corporate espionage thriller, kind of. Karsh Vincent is the enigmatic entrepreneur behind a new tech package that allows bereaved relatives to view their loved ones' decomposing remains. When his futuristic cemetery is vandalized, he begins to suspect a conspiracy is at work, forcing him to confront the trauma of and mystery surrounding the death of his beloved Becca, who's portrayed by Diane Kruger. Conceived in the wake of his own wife's death, The Shrouds finds Cronenberg exploring heady ideas around sex, surveillance, and the ultimate body horror, the physical decay that awaits us all. Okay, so this movie is very much in the vein of a lot more contemporary David Cronenberg's work, with a little body horror thrown in. You know what I mean? There's some garish imagery in this movie because the movie is exploring death and the ultimate decay of the body afterwards. So there are some garish imagery. Vincent Cassel is interesting in this movie. He's very he's portraying David Cronenberg as a self-insert character. He even has David Cronenberg's haircut. He even talks like David Cronenberg somewhat, like he's imitating him. So it's definitely a personal, deeply meaningful film for David Cronenberg. Our good friend Celeste Lacabra over on her YouTube channel um, did a deep dive into this movie of her thoughts and analysis of the film, and she kind of nails it pretty succinctly. So go over there and check that out. The video is about 30 minutes long, but if anything, it should have been a special feature on this disc because it is that intuitive in an in-depth look at this movie. And because this movie's dealing with a lot of big themes of life and death and grief and regret and all kinds of stuff. um it's an interesting movie. It's very interesting. Let me and this is part of the Criterion Premieres line. So the old Janus Contemporaries is no more. It's gone. Let me see, where do I have some Janus Contemporaries around me? Oh, right behind me. Okay. So Janus Contemporaries. This is the Wim Wenders film Anselm, and this is a Janus Contemporaries release. Even though it doesn't say it on it, why doesn't it say it on it? It's kind of annoying. Oh, hold on. Let me get another one. I've got this. I know this is a Janus Contemporaries release. Where are you? Here we go. I got the ones that I just bought. So these are also Janus Contemporaries release, but they also don't say them on there. Huh. Anywho, Janus Contemporaries releases, some that I do have. EO, which I just picked up, which you guys have already seen. If you watched my trip video to the Barnes and Noble sale, you saw that I picked that up. I also picked up No Bears, another Janus Contemporaries release, and then Anselm, another Janus Contemporaries release. I got to get some more. They they are unfortunately no more. Well, the name is no more. They're still putting them out. They're still putting them out, but they are now titled Criterion Premieres. That's what they are titled. I think I mentioned this last time. They're titled Criterion Premieres now, and this is The Shrouds, and it's the same type of premise. Contemporary films are getting physical media releases, getting Blu-ray releases, not quite getting the full Criterion treatment, but just getting put on a disc. There is a special feature on here called Meet the Filmmakers David Cronenberg's a Criterion Channel original interview. That's it. I'm gonna buy this eventually. Like I'm gonna get this because I get all David Cronenberg stuff. But that is The Shrouds. Like I said, go check out our friend Celeste Lacabra's video on The Shrouds. It's very, very intuitive, very in depth, and it definitely nails, I think, what the film is going for, and definitely, unpackages that film because there's a lot to unpack with David Cronenberg. Now, these last two releases are movies that have already been released on Blu-ray in the Criterion Collection, and they are getting upgrades. We have the classic all-time Criterion Essential movie in Eyes Without a Face by Georges Franju. This movie is incredible. You have to see it. It's a must-watch. At his secluded chateau in the French countryside, a brilliant, obsessive doctor attempts a radical plastic surgery to restore the beauty of his daughter's disfigured countenance at a horrifying price. That's the premise of the movie. It's this father's obsession with restoring his daughter's face, and to any means necessary. It's dark, it's sinister, it's contemporary, it's brilliant, it's horrific, it's amazing. It's one of the best movies Criterion I think has ever put out. Truly incredible. Um, this is getting a new 4K restoration with uncompressed monaural soundtrack, one 4K UHD disc of the movie, Blu-ray with the film and special features. Blood of the Beast, Georges Franju's 1949 documentary about the slaughterhouse of Paris, archival interviews with Franju on the horror genre, cinema, and making of Blood of the Beasts, interview with actor Ed Scobe, excerpt from Le Grand Pierre de Crime, a 1985 documentary about screenwriter Pierre Boulot and Thomas Narcejac. I think these are definitely the same special features from the Blu-ray. So nothing new here. All you get is the upgrade from the 4K UHD format. Next, is the late, great, legendary David Lynch's follow-up film to his television series Twin Peaks in Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. Now, this movie is a prequel. Do not watch this movie before you watch the series. It will ruin the series for you in terms of uh plot revelations, revealing the mystery and all of that stuff. The central mystery of Twin Peaks for about the first season and a half is who killed Laura Palmer. This movie tells you that. So do not watch this movie before you watch that show. And do not watch the international pilot either, because that will also ruin the twist for you too. It will ruin that revelation. But this movie came out in what, 1994, I think? 1992, sorry, in the aftermath of this series being canceled. And it was not the movie people expected. It is it's you got to be a deep Twin Peaks fan to appreciate this movie, because this movie is so fascinating. It's so interesting. It's so introspective of the themes and the story and the lore of Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks The Return is not a sequel to Twin Peaks series or a continuation of the Twin Peaks series. In my opinion, Twin Peaks The Return, the 2017, Twin Peaks show, is a sequel to Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, because they share the same vibe, the same loose, surreal, fantastical, mystical vibe and themes and things going on with it. It's a mystery wrapped in an enigma, or wrapped in a story, wrapped in everything. There's nothing like a David Lynch work. It truly isn't. Twin Peaks is a one of a kind thing. You can tell it's one of my favorite TV series of all time. And Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me is an incredible companion to that series. And it is very much a bridge to Twin Peaks The Return. Originally, there were supposed to be 3 movies. Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me was received so negatively that the other 2 films never happened. And we didn't get anything Twin Peaks until 2017 with the series, which is one of the greatest things ever put on screen, in my opinion. It's an 18-hour movie. It's remarkable. But Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me has gotten several releases over the years. Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me has been released on DVD. It's been released on Blu-ray through Criterion. It's been released on Blu-ray, I think, by itself. And I think it was also part of the complete series of the original run of movies, the Blu-ray. If you buy the Blu-ray set, the individual Blu-ray set, the movie comes with it. But let's dive into this here. I'm not even going to read the premise, because you got to know Twin Peaks to know this movie. You really do. You can't watch this movie like I said, do not watch this movie by itself. Do not do that. Do not do that. You need to watch the series. So, 4K digital restoration with a 7.1 DTS Master Audio soundtrack, alternate 2.0 DTS Master Audio soundtrack, one 4K, one Blu-ray with the film and special features. You do get the missing pieces, which is 90 minutes of deleted scenes and alternate takes from the film, assembled by David Lynch himself. Now, that was part of the Blu-ray that was part of the special features that came with the complete series set of Twin Peaks. So that's a carryover from that, but still great nonetheless. You get an interview by Lynch with actors Cheryl Lee, Ray Wise, and Grace Zabriskie. Interviews with Lee and composer Angelo Badalamenti. Yes. And then you get a plus excerpt from an interview with Lynch from Lynch on Lynch, a 1997 book edited by filmmaker and writer Chris Rodley. I wish there was more. I wish they would have added more to this, but there's so much Twin Peaks out there. There are books, podcasts, there's fan theories, there's the shows themselves, there's this movie. There's so much special features in those box sets. There's also special features in the Z through A box set too, which I still to this day want to get, even though I already own the show. It's one of those things for me where I want every scrap of Twin Peaks stuff, you know? It's that profound of a show to me. Like, it's such a brilliant piece of true art. Man, you don't see true true art like this, and it's not for everyone. I get that. Definitely get that. But damn, it's something special to me. Um, yeah, yeah, I mean, it's a straight up horror. Yeah, Adam Schofield. I haven't seen Fire Walk with Me for a while. All I remember is a lot of shrieking. Yeah, it's incredibly emotional. The story of Laura Palmer um is incredibly powerful emotionally, especially in Fire Walk with Me. Um, and then Adam Schofield says 2019, Wally had a 4K release. Wally did have a 4K release. Um, I think I was talking about when I was talking about Fox Searchlight back then. I don't know what you're talking about, but Wally did get a 4K release. Um, I have it actually. Where are you? I have it right here because I have to file it away in my animation section. I actually have the old Wally Blu-ray that I've got to swap out for this. Uh, but this is a great. And you guys, you know what you're talking about? Disney. I know. I now, Adam. I know exactly what you were saying. So Adam was talking. It says 2019. Wally had a 4K release. I was saying that It was surprising that Disney was doing was partnering up with Criterion, where of course they've done it before. They did it with Wally. Heck, they did it. They technically have done it with The Rock and Armageddon from way back when. Those old DVDs. So I don't know what I was saying, but you guys are right. But yeah, obviously this says down in Walt Disney Company and whatnot. So it's not unprecedented. It's not unprecedented. But typically, when it comes to certain deals with certain filmmakers that do get Criterion releases, I'm thinking Wes Anderson. For example, Wes Anderson's movies take years to get the Criterion treatment, like literal, like several years. So that's why I didn't see Nightmare Alley coming until at least a little more time down the line. But hell, give me all Criterion, Guillermo del Toro. Speaking of which, what I would really love is if Pan's Labyrinth would get the 4K UHD release upgrade. I've been waiting for that. I know it has one by itself already. I think it has one through Sony. Is it Sony? Let me see. Bum. No, Warner Brothers. It's got one through Warner Brothers. I'm hoping that Criterion is able to do that themselves one day. Let me see, because I know Kronos got a 4K upgrade from actually from not only from Criterion but also overseas as well. Uh, I know Pinocchio came right out of the gate as a 4K release. The Shape of Water has a 4K release. So I'm just waiting for Pan's Labyrinth and The Devil's Backbone. Yeah, but anywho, that is pretty much it. I believe that's everything from Criterion for the month of October. So we've got Deep Crimson, Nightmare Alley by Guillermo del Toro, Altered States by Ken Russell, A History of Violence from David Cronenberg. Finally, we've got The Shrouds, also from David Cronenberg. We've got Eyes Without a Face, an all-time Criterion classic, just an all-time, I think, horror classic in general. And then we have Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. The David Lynch film is getting a 4K UHD release. I'll emphasize once again, don't watch that without watching the series first, or else you'll spoil it for yourself. And if you don't care about spoilers, then don't listen to me. But that is pretty much it. Yeah, if I'm going back and looking at my notes, um, that is everything for Chasing Labels episode or spine number 169. So that is everything. What we have coming up here on Chasing Labels is next Monday will be the Unwatched Pile. We'll have another episode of the Unwatched Pile. I'm not quite sure. Actually, probably should check. We should check to see if we have a guest, and if I probably forgot who the guest is at this point. Let's see. Oh, our friend Doug McCambridge. Our friend Doug McCambridge is tentatively going to be our guest for next Monday. He was a guest on Chasing Labels earlier on in the life of Chasing Labels, so it's nice to have him back. And of course, in 2 weeks' time, which will be, oh goodness, what will 2 weeks be at this point? That will be August 5th, I will be back here on Chasing Labels once again. That by that point, I will be going over probably new Arrow releases, maybe some Eureka. Obviously, we'll be having the Vinegar Syndrome and Partner label stuff that's dropping the first, and yeah, that will be then, and then I think that's about it. And of course, check up on everything that's going on here on Chasing Labels. Also, I want to plug this once again that merchandise, t-shirts, long sleeves, hoodies, merchandise of various kinds will be upcoming sometime soon on Etsy. We're just obviously working out the kinks and working out all of the logistics of making sure that when we do launch that it runs nice and smoothly, so there's no hiccups or problems. But thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for supporting the channel, supporting me, supporting Steven, supporting everything we do here on Chasing Labels. If you want to listen to the audio version of this, of course, it is available wherever podcasts are found. Um, Google, Stitcher, Spotify. There's also audio versions of it now up on YouTube too. I don't know if you prefer that or not, but of course you can listen to the audio on YouTube in podcast form, or you can just watch the playback of the video too, and see the various things that I keep showing off, whatnot. But thank you all once again, and hey, keep on watching those movies because I know I will.